Chapter 476, An Even Worse Opponent. Chapter 476, An Even Worse Opponent. Oh, it's you. Slaughter Wolf had a wide grin. You were that black smoke just now. I know from fighting you. Men, form up and take him in. Thousands of soldiers gathered around in formation, their fused yuan qi and bloodlust reaching the clouds by commander's orders. Nobody is to go in or out. Your head is mine. Slaughter Wolf whistled his halberd through the air. Shadow King was stunned. He was injured and was now facing a formation. The ending was obvious to anyone. He opted to drop all facade and took out the golden badge. Wait, I am His Majesty's envoy, here to help Commander. Take me to him. His Majesty? Which one? Slaughter Wolf barked. Shadow King hardened. Tian Yu's. Slaughter Wolf sized him up and nodded. He rested the halberd still oozing killing intent on his shoulder. Come, we're going to see the commander. But don't you try anything. Slaughter Wolf shifted the halberd and its cold and sharp blade froze Shadow King's blood. If not for Zhuo Fan's strike, do you think I'd stand for your puny flair? Despite all that, he knew he was the weaker one here and had to bend a knee following Slaughter Wolf entering Chuanrong's commanding tent. He cupped his hands. Commander Tuoba, I am Emperor Yuan's Shadow King, captain of the Shadow Guards. I heard about you trapping Dugu Zhantian for so long without resolution and came to your aid. Shadow King took out the golden badge. Slaughter Wolf presented it to Tuoba Taizhan. Tuoba Taizhan held it in his hand and waved the soldiers away. It is genuine, but this is the last battle between Dugu and I. I didn't ask for help either. Lord's kindness is appreciated, but you should return. Not at all. Shadow King shook his head in disdain. Commander Tuoba, this isn't about rivalry, but a trade between nations. Sir has many other tasks besides dealing with the Dugu army. But it no longer matters as I have provided my help already. You just need to send your men into the gorge and victory is yours. What? Tuoba Tieshan's heart thumped with unease. What do you mean by that? What did you do? Ha ha ha, oh, nothing. Shadow King stuck out his chin. I just saw Dugu Zhantian. Using His Majesty's envoy as a cover, the old man never saw it coming. I stuck him with the soul-rotting needle and by now he should be dead. This is your best chance. Without their leader, the Dugu army is ripe for the taking. Commander only has to march in. Shut your yap. Tuoba Taizhan exploded, grabbing his collar. I have gone to war countless times with Dugu Zhantian. This time I might have the advantage, and was somewhat honorless, but at least it was a fair fight. But you and your men have fouled our last duel, now ruined by rotten people like you. Old Dugu isn't the only one enraged, I am as well. The only reason you're still standing is because of that Tianyu envoy crap. Or I would have killed you as a tribute to Dugu Zhantian. Tuoba Taizhan roared and all the other generals held hatred for the Shadow King. From anger and sadness, the undefeated Dugu army wasn't just an enemy but a respected opponent. It found its end not by Chuanrong's blade, but was ruined by its own nation as soldiers. These men felt the injustice and malcontent the Dugu army was subjected to. Shadow King couldn't give a damn, sporting a twisted smile. Commander Tuoba, soldiers have a duty to carry. You must go in there, lead your men and kill them all for the good of our nations. That's your duty. Tuoba Taizhan squinted. Soldiers have their mission, but also army spirit. Dugu Zhantian was an honorable adversary. As he passed away on this day, I will enter 3 days of mourning. Then we'll attack. You. Tuoba Taizhan glared with fury, as did the 5 wolves. Spending even a second around such a foul and treacherous filth was a disgrace to the Chuanrong army. Report. A soldier burst in. Commander, the Dugu army is at the gorge entrance, ready to attack. What? Tuoba Taizhan and Shadow King cried out at once. Dugu Zhantian had just died and instead of the army mourning him, they were ready to attack. Tuoba Taizhan went out with his 5 wolves and Shadow King. From the thick mist of the gorge came out rows of soldiers. How were they able to break free with the entrance surrounded by the beast army? Thump tilde. Dugu army's formation was impeccable, each step drumming the earth, intimidating the Chuanrong. The 4 tigers were in the lead, carrying a simple makeshift stretcher holding Dugu Zhantian. Tuoba Taizhan felt pain and sorrow, and so a god of war fell, a hero of his generation, to cruel and insidious means. Luo Yunhai held the flag of Dugu army as he led the procession, struck with sorrow still, but of firm discipline go back. Tuoba Taizhan spoke, Brother Zhangtian fell from misfortune and needs his rights. I will give you 3 days to mourn, then we will settle this. Tuoba Tieshan's heart grew heavier, but he had to carry out his orders. To wipe this hardened army from these lands. Shadow King still had that sour look, snorting ha ha ha. Commander Tuba, I take it? We appreciate your generosity. But the funeral of Marshal Dugu is too important. We wish to take his body back and give him a proper burial. It is what a god of war should receive by right. Who said that? Tuoba Taizhan shouted. Zhuo Fan walked out from the ranks as the glares of all Chuanrong soldiers rested on him, more like, on that blade. What's old Dugu's dragon-slaying crescent blade doing in your hand? Tuoba Taizhan cried. Zhuo Fan had his trademark evil smile. By Marshal Dugu's command, I am the new marshal of this army. There's no way that's true. Shadow King butted in. Zhuo Fan glanced over. Yes, I am now Marshal Zhuo. As for you, Shadow King, you won't have such an easy time sneaking up on me. Soaked in sweat, Shadow King tensed up and sighed. Dugu army had fallen into Zhuo Fan's pocket, the worst news so far. With a creepy snicker, Zhuo Fan taunted, Commander Tuoba, your future rival is me. Do be careful. Cocky prick, the only one I ever had respect for was old Dugu. What can a brat do to me? Tuoba Taizhan snorted. Slaughter Wolf stepped out. You'll have to go through me first. Shadow King shook his head and sighed. The Chuanrong had just come to Tianyu and knew nothing. Now they take this uncanny hellish schemer as nothing but a boy. It's over, all over. They're facing an even worse existence than the likes of Dugu Zhangtian, yet patronizing him instead. Shadow King grieved. He could practically see the end. Zhuo Fan's grin almost split his face, his eyes dancing in joy. He signaled and Jiyu Santong came over as he said, Commander Tuoba, there's no rush to see if I can match you. The question is, though, if you can match me. Tuoba Taizhan shuddered, arrogant little snot. Chapter 477, concluded. Chapter 477, concluded. Elite Coda. Zhuo Fan and Jiyu Santong smiled. While the first let out an azure flame on his forehead, the latter had an eerie reddish glow. Tilde. The two auras released a wave of energy, blending in the air and smashing the beast army formation apart. Raw tilde. The beasts wailed in agony, rampaging all over the place. Chuanrong soldiers made signs to get them under control, an exercise in futility. Tuoba Taizhan and the wolves were startled. Zhuo Fan grinned, his eyes taking on a savage glint as he signaled, take Marshal's body. We're charging through. Form, march. Dugu Feng shouted. The Dugu army roared back, executing the order. Tuoba Taizhan had no way to block them, not when his army had the spiritual beasts at its core who were running amok. His army just got sacked to 1/10 of its power. What just happened? He watched the Dugu army stroll right through them, powerless and dumbstruck to do anything. Not like he could. Shadow King came to his side, pointing at the two in front. Commander, they're to blame. Kill them and your beasts will calm down. Tuoba Taizhan exclaimed. Dugu army was out of the encirclement amongst the chaos, while Zhuo Fan sported the same nasty and condescending grin all his victims were familiar with, a taunt, a goddamned taunt. Tuoba Taizhan found the new marshal's skills queer. He could see why Dugu Zhangtian would entrust his army to this nobody, but Zhuo Fan's style lit a raging fire under him like no one else could. Why, you rotten squib, not even Dugu Zhangtian took such a stance with me, yet you dare to do so? Slaughter Wolf, take your men and grab those two. Tuoba Taizhan shouted. Slaughter Wolf bowed, yes, sir. His division was the only one battle-ready. Slaughter Wolf took his hundreds of thousand men at Zhuo Fan and Jiyu Santong. The soldiers in white looked like asuras, fusing their yuan qi and bloodlust. Slaughter Wolf led the charge, flicking his mighty halberd and shuddering. The air around. Zhuo Fan looked surprised. It was his first time meeting a formation. Slaughter Wolf alone meant nothing to him or Jiyu Santong, just a pinch and he'd be gone. Yet with the men behind him combining their yuan qi, they released an even greater pressure than Huangpu Qinyuan's 9 dragons diamond body could. Facing such a flood alone, he'd be torn to pieces. While Jiyu Santong laughed, having the benefit of a tough sacred beast body, great timing. Let me have a shot. Hold on, young Sanzi, you might not be able to handle this either. Zhuo Fan held his shoulder. Besides, battlefield, by definition, means a group battle, a battle of brains not brawn. The more glaring a formation's strength is, the more devastating its weakness, its mobility. Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed golden, divine eye of the void, Shif. Whoosh tilde. Zhuo Fan and Jiyu Santong were gone. Slaughter Wolf's power surge hit nothing. Boom. The only victim here was a hill in the distance. Now sporting a huge gap in it, Slaughter Wolf rested his halberd and looked around puzzled. Tuoba Taizhan and the other wardens were just as speechless. Whoosh. A sharp sound came and Tuoba Taizhan felt a chill on his neck and froze in place. The same thing happened to the wolves. Looking back, stiffly Zhuo Fan and Jiyu Santong had popped up in their sights, holding the commander's neck at Dugu Zhantian's blade point. Commander. The wolves panicked. When did he get behind them? Why didn't they sense it? And, more importantly, how did he do that? Shadow King was the only one here aware of Zhuo Fan's intimacy-violating fancy trick. First you look down on your enemy and are now blindsided by having your head held hostage. How are you going to fight? Don't move a muscle, Zhuo Fan threatened, and the wolves stood still. Zhuo Fan grinned to everyone there before turning to his hostage. Commander Tuba, I have you right where I want you. Your fate is in my hands. Tell me though, is this new marshal worthy of your undivided attention? Tuoba Taizhan gasped, the young surpass the old. I have been undefeated all my life yet fell in your hand at our first clash. Dugu Zhantian will find rest knowing the Dugu army is in good hands. Hehe, I'm touched. I've heard much of Commander Tuba and Marshal Dugu being gods of war of this age and looked forward to seeing you for myself. But how you fell for it so easily, you're just not up to scratch. You're no match of mine. Say that again. Tuoba Taizhan roared. The wolf wardens bit back. Cocky punk. A soldier would choose death before Dishana. Is this how Dugu Zhantian train you? Ha ha ha, first things first, I was never trained under Dugu Zhantian. He once wanted me to work together but we got stuck on opposite sides. If not for this untimely event, lacking capable leadership, I wouldn't have accepted it either. And secondly, I'm stating facts. Zhuo Fan continued with a wide smile, Shadow King here knows me best. If Commander Tuba had been some great enemy of mine, his head would have long been flying. Ha ha ha, in appreciation for your respect for our dear Marshal Dugu, I shall do the same. CYA. Zhuo Fan and Jiyu Santong were gone again, appearing a mile out. Tuoba Taizhan was crestfallen, even if free he'd been looked down upon, considered not a threat. The only reason he was still living too, and it left him empty inside. Die, kid. Slaughter Wolf charged at him with his men. No one had ever toyed with him in his long years of service. His ego was more than a little bruised. Zhuo Fan had no time to entertain him. Finding Dugu army in the distance, he signaled Jiyu Santong soaring fist, splitting heaven. The cute fist pounded the air and the earth churned like a raging sea. Slaughter Wolf was overwhelmed by what a mere kid could do. Just like a battle formation. He set up his formation just in time so he could bear through the attack. When everything was quiet, all they could hear was Zhuo Fan's egotistical voice, I am needed elsewhere, for military formalities. We shall meet again, on the field of battle. You're free to chase, if you find that head of yours too heavy for your shoulders. Why that cocky, brash, outrageous prick? It was the thought on everyone's mind. Shadow King, who the hell was that? Tuoba Taizhan turned a hard gaze at the black figure, a raging storm battling in his heart. The passing of Dugu Zhantian brought unbearable loneliness to a military master such as him, but the arrival of Zhuo Fan showed him a new opponent. Shadow King sighed. Zhuo Fan, the newest upstart in Tianyu and the steward of the Windgaze City's Luo clan, the 8th noble house. Cunning, ruthless, twisted, outrageously strong, all of these make him the worst opponent in Tianyu. His Majesty sent me here to deal with the Dugu army so that you'll next focus on that kid. Zhuo Fan. Tuoba Tieshan's eyes glinted. This is an opponent I shall fight. Chapter 478, Ethereal Stage. Chapter 478, Ethereal Stage. 2 months later, Zhuo Fan and the 600,000 troops had reached Windgaze City with no interruptions from Chuanrong. Safe to say, the threat of the mighty duo had driven fear into them. Dugu Feng had issued jades for the other legions of the Dugu army, but none answered from being under the imperial family's watch. No doubt the 4 tigers of Tianyu side. No matter how much they thought about it, never once did they consider their own ruler to be the one wanting their deaths. Or they'd taken the whole 3 million men with them and would have avoided such heavy losses. The guest houses in Windgaze City watched Chuafan lead Dugu army over with slacked jaws. That's Qianyu's mightiest military. What's it doing with that kid? He's really something to pull it off. There's nothing in this world he can't do. The House Lords sighed. With Dugu army tucked in his base, Chuafan convened with the Tigers and other lords as the imperial family and Chuanrong were rubbing elbows, and Chuafan had long seen it coming. It was time for the next step in his master plan. This is how it stands. Marshal Dugu was assassinated, the imperial family colluded with the Chuanrong army, and now it's planning to root us all out. In the hall, everyone sat at a round table. Chuafan watched them all with a grave look. We have two options before us. Scatter from Qianyu's chaos and avoid war, or meet them with everything we have and win the world for ourselves. Bam! Pavilion Lord Long slammed the table. The imperial family has no shame, cohorting with outsiders and killing their loyal official. It has no right to sit on the throne. We fight. You can think what you want, but Veiled Dragon Pavilion shall go all out. Long Yifi spoke with valor and might, earning the nods of many. Chuafan snickered inside. They're so simple. In the face of absolute uncertainty, they'd have bolted by now. But with Dugu army around, they've found their courage in believing they will get their homes back. To these houses with a 1,000-year-long foundation in Qianyu, having all of it ruined was the greatest pain. With Luo clan as the vanguard, they were in support, and with the hope of rebuilding as a done deal, they were all in. It fell in line with Chuafan's intentions. They just had to do what he wanted, and Chuafan's plans to have the world were neither. Chuanrong are too many, and they even have imperial families experts to back them. Grandmother frowned. To win this, we must expand our power, and fast. Couldn't be easier. Xie Xiaofeng's eyes glinted. Like Brother Yifi said, the imperial family has brought the enemy into our lands and has lost all right to watch over Qianyu. All we need is to spread the word and we'll have everyone on our side. The rebellion's growth will settle by itself. Good idea. The other two house lords clapped. Lung Wuchang next to Chuafan mocked. Naive. Why would anyone believe you, who stands against the emperor? He would just have to declare it was you calling in the Chuanrong, and the rebellion would turn into a just pursuit to save the ruler. The one to suffer will be us. Lung Wuchang, what's with that attitude? The imperial family cast out Marshal Dugu, set up his death, and every soldier of Dugu army bore witness to. It can't get any clearer than that. Xie Xiaofeng puffed his chest. Lung Wuchang said, aren't they also traitors? Although more in number, the imperial family has the final word. Who'd the clans believe, the emperor or us, the traitors? The house lords lapsed into silence. Chuafan smiled. Sir Lung is right. Recall our battle with Regent Estate, the setting the imperial family created for both of us to be in dire straits, and let him take the spoils. To the point that the Regent Estate announced they'd quell us down, whether right or wrong. Yet the emperor was silent when I issued my own challenge, of obscured facts and a chaotic nation, leading to an even more confused populace. It's obvious that the imperial family has the people's opinion. This time's no different. The imperial family can call us what it wants and they'd swallow it right up. No matter what call or declaration we make to expand our forces, he'll just crush it with one lousy paper. And not just foil our plans, but make us the public enemy. The men's hearts sank, and the gravity of it all set in. Without a righteous cause, it would be impossible to beat the imperial family with outside help. Dugu Feng was furious. Is there no way to give Godfather justice? Of course there is, though not exactly justice. Just take a chunk out of His Majesty. Chuafan smiled. We cannot use the rebellion to amass power, but we can use our undying loyalty. That's ludicrous. You're telling us we should help that senile emperor instead of fighting him? Dugu Hua roared. Marshal had been loyal, but not even he would permit for the emperor to sell his country. He would never stand by such an emperor. Chuafan laughed. General Hua, you misunderstand. Ever wondered why I spared Tuoba Taishan? Yeah, why? You never told me. You had that bastard right where you wanted, so why didn't you get revenge for the old marshal? Dugu Hua blustered. Chuafan stated, killing him would leave the Chuanrong headless and they will fall into obscurity from everyone's sights. By letting him live though, he will look into me and go against the emperor's plan to foil me. leading to an even more chaotic Tianyu and exposing itself in the long run. Clap tilde. Lung Wuchang admired. Just like Steward Shui, he has a contingency ready. Impressive and marvelous. By using loyalty as an excuse, we'll force the emperor to swallow this bitter pill. Everyone was dumbstruck by what they were hearing. One's an old fox and the other a kid, though just as shifty. Just what are they planning? Sir Lung knows me well. Zhuo Fan smiled. Regardless of the reason we use to get more support, the imperial family will make a statement, unless of course we do it in his name. Everyone lit up, with grandmother laughing. The imperial family can never admit to their deal with Chuanrong. Steward Zhuo, the emperor will suffer for it. Ha ha ha, the emperor is sure to have a plan in place for when the Chuanrong came to light. At worst, he'll pin it on Zhuge Changfeng. But never in his wildest dreams will he guess we'll use it to bolster our ranks for the war with him. He's bound to have one funny look, ha ha ha. The others laughed with him. Further amazed by Zhuo Fan's cunningness, Lung Wuchang spoke with concern. Steward Zhuo, that settles our numbers issue, but what about experts? With men that can rob lives for miles away, what good would numbers do? What's there to worry about when we have invincible scamp Jiyu Santong? Long Yifi laughed, taking young Sanzi for his man. Lung Wuchang shook his head. In Tianyu, Jiyu Santong is invincible, but there's also Chuanrong. I fear they've called for experts from their guardian sect, beast taming sect, in the ethereal stage. Not to worry while I'm around. Bang! A booming voice entered the hall, followed by a stout and strong physique Mad Dipper. He's back. And stronger. Congratulations, Elder Li, for reaching the ethereal stage. Zhuo Fan nodded. Li Jingtian had nothing but endless gratitude for him. Chapter 479, Posterity Army. Chapter 479, Posterity Army. I can't thank Steward Zhuo enough for saving me. I had let emotions get the best of me. Li Jingtian kneeled. The shock was palpable. The strong and mighty Li Jingtian had utmost respect for Zhuo Fan, but never as far as kneeling. Only a great favor could drive such power to feel like words failing and only gestures fully showing his gratitude. As for how big a favor, none here was the wiser. Zhuo Fan smiled, helping him up. Elder Li, don't be so distant. We're on the same side. I will never forget what Steward Zhuo has done for me. Without you, I wouldn't even have my cultivation. Li Jingtian shone with admiration. It all became clear. Anyone would kneel when being saved from the pit of despair and given the chance to achieve what everyone in Tianyu sought but never grasped. Ethereal stage. Lung Wuchang muttered, with Elder Li in ethereal stage, no enemy expert will be a match for here. Don't forget us. Qiu Yanghai and Xue Qingjian beamed as they walked inside with majestic power. All were shaking to the core and gasped. The two were the hardest to deal with in Tianyu, yet now they were just a step away from reaching ethereal 2. Their combined fire and water art had to wield the true power of an ethereal stage expert. Holy hell, Luo clan's experts grow too fast. Just a few years and it has already raised 3 ethereal stage expert. This is freaky, outrageous even. Just what little tricks did Zhuo Fan use? They were merely unique experts before he came around. Besides confusion, what predominated was envy and admiration. Another figure walked in to unravel the mystery. Vicious Pill King walked cocksure to Zhuo Fan and bowed. Steward Zhuo, allowing me to refine the 10th grade heaven-reaching pill, has given me time to familiarize myself with it. It will take some time, but I promise to give every expert of our house one of the pill in a year and a half, to improve their meridians. This will give our radiant stage elders the prospects of reaching ethereal stage. Hey, you didn't tell me the pill would be so incredible. The instant Elder Li and the couple took it, they broke through. 10th grade? The crowd cried, eyes popping and looking at Zhuo Fan with slacked jaws. The Punk Yang Song is a 10th grade alchemist now? More importantly, where did he get those high-quality ingredients to make such a pill? We have a 1,000-year-old legacy behind us, but even we don't have a 10th grade ingredient. So that's why. All experts come into the Luo clan's fold because of the lavish promises. The house lords wallowed in jealousy, though the looks Zhuo Fan got were those of desire and beseechment. Steward Zhuo, we're, after all, your old allies. With war at our doorsteps, we ought to raise our strength too. Long Yifi rubbed his hands. Zhuo Fan deadpanned, Pavilion Lord Long, I've put friendship first, always. What's mine is yours. But as you've very well put it, Pavilion Lord Long, war is upon us. As the Luo clan is leading this group, it is only fitting that I shield your young from spilling needless blood. I am not the one to sell out his friends. These pills will be given to Luo clan's elders first, to give you much-needed cover. When the war is over, everyone will be free to partake. This meant Shuofan was delaying it, though not without dangling some hope to rein them. Those pills were just that intoxicating, giving Shuofan the chance to lead them by the nose. Hey, you want it? March forward. Win and you'll have it. Grinning inside at how easily he played them while everyone was thinking of the world, Shuofan was planning for Luo clan's granite foundation but leaving two ethereal stage experts aside. Leng Wuchang frowned. Shuofan dismissed his worries. Sir Leng, it's all taken care of. Leng Wuchang nodded. He hadn't been around Shuofan since just yesterday. When it came to schemes, he would only point things out while leaving the planning to Shuofan. In short, his skills were shelved in Luo clan. He was in no rush, knowing Shuofan would be gone soon. And who would the Luo clan turn to next? His glorious moment would soon arrive, no doubt about it. With the toughest points smoothened out, Shuofan issued the order for drafting. He had the houses go to their domains and use the excuse of Chuanrong's invasion to recruit in the name of the emperor, being respected most in their own turf, and with the name of the emperor behind them, the army ought to reach millions of heads while the houses were under a lot of pressure, from imperial family and Chuanrong coalition in front, and Shuofan's dangling pills behind it worked as an incentive and inevitable danger, boosting their morale. They spread out fast as lightning, drafting, raking merits and working double hard with Shuofan's rotten style. Maybe he'd put a merit system in place for pill rewarding, so when Shuofan adjourned the meeting, they were gone in a flash. The four tigers of Tianyu frowned, with Du Gufeng speaking out, Marshal, they're all just rabble. Against the veteran Chuanrong army, they will lose. I know. Shuofan smiled. The art of war has a saying, the right time, right place and right people. To prevail against Chuanrong, we need to take these three conditions into account. There's no better place to fight than our doorstep, with all the arrangements I've made. All that's left is to lure them. Tuoba Taishan is no fool, he won't fall for an obvious trap. Which leaves making him come to us, ha ha ha. Another saying is the highest form of generalship is to thwart the enemy's plans, to strike at their morale. I had the houses drafting not to use the rabble, but to force the emperor and Chuanrong into a rushed war, here. Then we'll fight to our heart's content. They'll come, but none shall leave. The tigers gasped, with Dugu Lin smiling. Now I see why Godfather made you the marshal. You are a true commander, devising plans and controlling the scene from miles away. In Godfather's words, commanders are yin and yang. Yang commander wins one step at a time while the yin commander devises schemes. He and Tuoba Taishan were yang, always fighting on open front. While with a yin commander at the helm, there's another feeling to it. General Lin, I get that you are calling me cunning, but are you praising or criticizing? Shuofan smiled. They all laughed. The new marshal is surely yin enough, but he knows his way around an army. Yun Hai, as the clan head you will be in front of your clansmen. When you want something, you have to strive for it and shake the masses. Since your time in Dugu army was short and you have been away from it for so long, not to mention you won't be leading your fellow soldiers but Luo clan's posterity, it'll be hard to win. That being said, I have a team ready for you, come. Shuofan watched Luo Yunhai with a brilliant smile. Luo Yunhai was stunned but followed with the tigers. Only the elders got it. Snickering to themselves, they arrived at the bunker beneath Blackwind Mountain. Luo Yunhai found it the same as always. Shuofan grinned, growing for months beneath the earth, with the energy of the earth absorbed. It is time to come out. Why are you still hiding? Come meet the clan head. Boom tilde. The huge rumble revealed a shaking ground as the earth swelled in places, soon revealing yellow hands. The bodies crawled out of the earth, presenting themselves to the stunned tigers. How are they people? With their sunken faces and bodies all shriveled up, they're practically zombies. Not just a few, but 100,000 of them. And what's with that ridiculous aura? 5,000 radiant stage experts, 30,000 in the profound heaven stage, and the rest are frigging bone tempering expert. Even without a formation, these numbers were shocking. Greetings clan head, steward Shuo, elders. The army boomed. Luo Yunhai fell back in shock. Shuo Fan smiled. They are disciples of Luo clan that I've refined into war puppets, with steel bodies and capability of flight. Use this time to train them in formations. They will defeat the Chuanrong and give you all the credit. The tigers felt a chill even without military training. This creepy army could hold millions of soldiers at bay. Oh God, this is clearly aimed at taking over the world. Steward Shuo is the best steward yet, paving the way for his master's glory. Chapter 480, An Emperor and His Minister. Chapter 480, An Emperor and His Minister. Drip tilde. In the gloomy jail, the morning dew fell slowly in a rhythm known only to itself. A grizzled old man, shackled with fifth-grade spiritual weapons, closed his eyes and hummed a tune, blending with the fall of water. Not like any prisoner should act. Clang. The jail door creaked open and the old man froze, looking at his visitor. A man in a golden gown walked in. Ha ha ha, my dear Prime Minister Zhuge, how do you like your new home? The emperor put on a winning smile. Zhuge Changfeng chuckled, carefree, thank you, Your Majesty, for your consideration. I have been very well. There's no court politics to mind, no insidious plot in the shadows, letting me find a peace long forgotten. Ha ha ha. You've failed at every corner yet still find amusement in everything. I am impressed by your strong mind. The emperor mocked. Zhuge Changfeng shook his head. A loss is a loss and no amount of anguish will change that. It's better to enjoy the newfound peace. Oh, it can't be that your Majesty has come to take it away from me, no? Not at all. Although your death is necessary so as not to leave such a dangerous element to my son after my passing, and even though I will be the one to take your life, it won't be now. We've been close for 100 years now, some might even call it friendship, understanding each other to a fault. Letting you die now will make me feel lonely. Friends. Ha ha ha. Zhuge Changfeng snickered. Your Majesty, is that what you call friendship, biting each other for decades? Friendship had been a delusion of mine in my younger days, but in time I knew your Majesty is no friend. A ruler walks a solitary path, bereft of friends and filled with schemes. The emperor fell silent from solitude. Yes, the lands are more important than everything. I am the emperor of this nation, so how can I make friends with commoners? Even so, I once imagined this. In the times we worked together, I treated you as my confidant. Yet you still raised your hand at me. Zhuge Changfeng gazed at the black and damp jail roof. Do you recall Prime Minister Yang? I was only a small official then, but grew to my position by your Majesty's grace. You said Prime Minister Yang was a vile man in control of the court. You asked me for my cooperation in getting rid of such a traitor, to take his place for the good of Tianyu. Yes, he was a man with a black heart, itching to revolt. The emperor said. Zhuge Changfeng shook his head. I used to think so too, and for that, I had him arrested through the evidence your Majesty brought forward. But when I barged into his home with righteous might, he said to be wary of you and committed suicide. I was baffled, taking it as nothing but a traitor's poisonous vilification, but after the first 10 years of my tenure, with dedication and passion, the same thing happened. Your Majesty found another official and enticed him to strike me by appealing to his willingness to serve you. I just couldn't understand why. So I bore in silence, unmoving against any of your taunts and challenges, while also looking into Prime Minister Yang. I learned to my shock that he was the previous ruler's man, loyal and true, yet forced by your Majesty to revolt. His final words now made sense. A ruler's mind has no limits. A prime minister has power over everyone. But not even I can touch him without reason in fear of public outrage and the other officials' terror. I can only have him removed. The emperor said, but Prime Minister Zhuge is far wiser. I've thought of countless excuses over the years yet nothing reached you, having a counter for every replacement. I knew then that Yun Xuanzhi's prediction was true. The head of 4 pillars is you. With your power, you intimidated the 7 houses, bringing balance outside and inside of the court. Zhuge Changfeng shook his head. Everything is still in your Majesty's control, I see. Although I had a feeling, I figured as long as I took proper measures, I'd escape it. I never thought. Your Majesty, everyone calls me the greatest mind in Tianyu. But to me, your Majesty has no equal, far beyond my meager calculations. Prime Minister, don't be modest now. I'm but a senile old ruler. You brought the Chuanrong army into Tianyu without my notice. You had me cornered with them, and I had no choice but to secede a tenth of our lands to make them withdraw. I shall have this shame for as long as I live. I have failed my people and my ancestors. The emperor sighed even as he smiled. Zhuge Changfeng shook his head. I see, the one who'll take the blame for selling his country is me in the end. Your Majesty's calculations run deep. Playing the century-old senile with such willpower has opened my eyes. Selling my country, one more crime to add to my never-ending list. It wouldn't matter even if I go down as the worst criminal in history. Though there is just one thing I would ask your Majesty, if you would be kind enough to enlighten me. Go ahead. The emperor urged. Zhuge Changfeng spoke. When I met the twin saints, they were just scholars. How did your Majesty place them in my sights? Ha ha ha. You'll have Yun Xuanji to thank for that. Grinning, the emperor spoke full of himself, just as how you and Dugu Zhantian came to office by high priest's recommendation. Even before he declared it to the public, he had told me you too will emerge, becoming Tianyu's blessing. But I had him delay his announcement to first see your characters. It's how I found Dugu Zhantian to be a military man, yet bogged down by honor and easy to control. And you, Zhuge Changfeng, foolish in your younger years yet had uncanny perception and a sharp wit. You're meant to be a shrewd old fox. For any eventuality, I had the ever-hiding twin saints fake their wounds for you to save them and remain as your trusted aides to not raise your suspicion. Each time you took an exam I had the proctor fail you even though you didn't. You were barred entry into court for 3 years, stopping you from finding anything pointing to the heaven and earth twin saints as my aides were sent to watch over you. And when you lost hope, I had Yun Xuanji recommend you. With everything unraveled, Zhuge Changfeng took a deep breath and shook his head. I had been dancing to your Majesty's tune from the start. Fighting you for so many years was an arrogance of mine. Prime Minister, you've done quite well, or my plan of rooting out all powers from Tianyu wouldn't have gone so smoothly. Ha ha ha. The emperor felt the world was his oyster. A man came in to report. Your Majesty, there's an urgent report. Zhuge Changfeng raised an eyebrow. Waiyuri Hell Valley's Yuming. I saw you by the second prince's side. How? Prime Minister Zhuge, I don't see the harm in telling you. Second prince's rebellion was incited by me. A father knows his son's best, they say. With his rash behavior, just a nudge was enough to spur him on. The emperor taunted. The next prime minister is also decided. Yu Ming. I am humbled by your Majesty's grace. Yu Ming bowed on Zhuge Changfeng's side. Your Majesty used his rebellion to force my hand. You used your own son, made him a rebel to the throne, just to get to me. Your Majesty's mind truly is boundless. They say no parent is cruel to his children, but you, your Majesty, are by far the worst. Isn't it all your fault for being so cautious? I had everyone leave my side yet you still didn't act. The only chance I have to get rid of you is if you strike first. The emperor snorted at his jab. Yu Ming presented a jade slip. Zhuge Changfeng said, Your Majesty, I am now blinded, down here in the dark. May I ask that you share information from the outside with this poor old official? The emperor eyed him and snorted, You're in prison for life, so it won't change a thing. Fine, Yu Ming, present the report to me and Prime Minister Zhuge's ears. What good news is it, I wonder? Must be Dugu army's demise, ha ha ha. The emperor cackled as Zhuge Changfeng sat there peacefully, though his ears were twitching. Yu Ming looked into the jade and widened his eyes, showing hesitation. Your Majesty, Luo clan observed how the Chuanrong army has invaded Tianyu's every corner and being loyal to the crown, is drafting men to purge the outsiders. They are now close to 1 million. What? The emperor choked, coughing. Zhuge Changfeng laughed, That's the Zhuofan I know. Well done. Your Majesty, I can say for sure you were asking for it. The emperor glared. Zhuofan, this rotten upstart, has the cheek to play with me? Absurd. Chapter 481, Urgent Dispatch. Chapter 481, Urgent Dispatch. Give me that. The emperor read the jade himself before frowning. This is too fast. So many men in just a few days. There's no way Luo clan's name is enough to pull it off. A taunting smile crossed Zhuge Changfeng's face. Your Majesty, It seems you forget about Shuafan's ingenious tricks during the last war, welcoming the other house's experts. With their deep roots, even when homeless, their names would live on in their lands. They just had to show themselves and their vassals would flock over in droves. They must think the war is over and are now grasping the winning leg. I dare say 1,000,000 is on the low side, ha ha ha. The mockery grated the emperor's ears, with him lashing out, "That mongrel came up with this move to put me on the spot. After inciting so many clashes between him and Regent Estate, I figured he'd be the weakest even if a winner. But he has gone beyond any forecast, becoming the biggest threat, taking the whole of Tianyu to war with me." The emperor's teeth grinding echoed out and Zhuge Changfeng sighed, "Oh, your majesty, it is both of our mistakes. We each wanted to use Shuafan and throw Tianyu in even more chaos for our own benefit. I, for the chance at rebellion and your majesty, to cleanse it of all other factions. But at the end of it all, I fell for your majesty's scheme and now the kid has gotten all those factions your majesty wanted gone, ha ha ha, a pawn turning into a player, taking advantage of others. Your majesty, he just cooked your goose. Shut your yap." The emperor bit back in anger. "I am the son of heaven. I cannot, will not, lose," coughed Hilda. After a harsh coughing fit, he looked to see the handkerchief stained in blood. The emperor hid it in his chest and stormed out, "Zhuge Changfeng, watch closely. The final winner shall be me. Zhuafan will die beyond any shadow of a doubt. Ha ha ha, show me, just whose hands will these lands fall into?" Zhuge Changfeng replied. Yu Ming smiled and went after the emperor. The jail had regained tranquility, with water dripping to Zhuge Changfeng's humming. Thump tilde. The emperor burst into the imperial study and sat down. "Guard." "Yes, your majesty." Someone was already bowing. "Is Shadow King back yet?" "No, your majesty. At this critical juncture he isn't back." "Just what is he doing?" The emperor slapped the table. "Report." A soldier fell to his knee. "Your majesty, Sir Shadow King requests an audience. Chuanrong's high commander and his generals await outside the palace as well." "Send them in." The emperor rushed. Shadow King brought with him the echelons of Chuanrong army. Tuba Liana and Tuoba Liufeng heard of their father's arrival and were now together with him, along with the 8 wolf wardens and the imperial tutor. All of them were here before the emperor. "Greetings, your majesty." Tuoba Taizhan hinted at a bow, while others offered a full one. The emperor smiled. "Commander, your reputation precedes your name. Now that I see you, it doesn't do you justice, ha ha ha." The emperor went to the heart of things. "Commander, how did it go at your end? Is it done?" Everyone looked hopefully at Tuoba Taizhan. It was about the fight between him and Dugu Zhantian. Everyone wished to know the result. Blushing, Tuoba Taizhan hesitated. Shadow King took charge with a sigh. "Your majesty, I have taken Dugu Zhantian down from the shadows." "Oh!" The emperor interjected and Shadow King continued, but Shuafan showed up just then, becoming Dugu army's new marshal and took the struggling soldiers away. "What?" The emperor shouted. "That punk took Dugu army? It's bad enough with his strength, but now he's even more of a pain. How is it that you didn't stop him? Or Dugu army at least?" Shadow King sighed. "Your majesty is aware of his uncanny skills and I alone am not a match. But I don't know how, he even got Commander Tuba's beast army to cower. He even took Commander Tuba hostage, ahem." Tuoba Taizhan interjected. "That might very well be the worst humiliation of his life." The children looked astonished. Their undefeated father lost to a boy. Tuba Liana was worried. "Father, did he hurt you?" "Ha ha ha, he was only acting tough but could do nothing to me." Tuoba Taizhan shirked it off. Jarlahan glared at the other 5 wolves. "Is this how you guard the commander, letting the enemy take our leader? What a disgrace." The wolves snorted, with Slaughter Wolf glumly saying, "The brat has creepy skills. In that moment of chaos, you'd fare no better. But to a cocky man like you, it will fall on deaf ears, having not clashed with him." "Who said I haven't? I and Jabi had him cornered 3-on-1. Yet Jabi ended up bedridden for a month." "Ahirtem." Jabi nudged Jarlahan, though a little late. The 8 wolf wardens looked around and saw familiar looks. "Ah, the kid got all our asses handed to us." Their mood hit rock bottom. Coming to Tianyu had given them the worst defeat of their careers. Tuoba Taizhan frowned. "Your majesty, Just what on earth is he? How come we've never heard of someone with such skill? Father, allow me. I've been in Tianyu for months now and had him investigated. Tuoba Liufeng said, Zhuo Fan came from a no-name clan. He was born a servant and when the clan was on the brink of destruction, became its steward when all that was left of the clan was 2 children and a guard. From then on, he made deals with powerful figures, taking him 10 years to bring that clan from the brink of collapse to what we see today, leading the enemy faction. His Majesty even gave him Best Steward Beneath Heaven title as evidence of his remarkable skills in leading. He knows how to handle his men, taking the house's experts for himself. His allies have complete trust in him, bearing heavy responsibility. Yet even so, everyone respects and fears him. Enemies and friends alike have the same view. Cunning as a weasel, sadistic as a wolf, shifty as a snake and grand like a dragon. He may show off every chance he gets, but inside is an unscrupulous twisted mind waiting for the chance to pounce. Correct, the brat has become the biggest thorn in my side. The emperor admitted. Tuoba Taizhan said, I knew he was something, but never this much. I need to be even more cautious with him than with Dugu Zhantian. To that end, I asked Commander Tuba to march on Windgaze City. The emperor urged. Tuoba Taizhan jerked, but I only just got to the imperial capital. My army. The kid is just too deceitful. In the name of his lord, he is amassing power. I can't denounce him either, not when you've strutted into Tianyu for everyone to see. Any delay will have him at the helm of millions of soldiers. If the Empire's 3 guardian sects get wind of this, our deal will fall through. What? They all gasped at Zhuo Fan's quick reaction. To guarantee a favorable resolution of this war, I'll be sending my divine dragons and Shadow King. Alas, the enemy has its own share of capable experts. The emperor frowned. It's fine. Imperial Tutor spoke at last. 3 experts from the beast taming sect have come as well. No matter how tough the enemy is, it will prove for naught. Chapter 482, Marching Army. Chapter 482, Marching Army. On the morrow, the clear dew glistening in the sunrise crumbled under the footsteps of a large procession, soldiers marching with discipline to a remote town at the borders. The bloodlust and warmongering blended into a chilly and choking atmosphere, snuffing out nature's tranquility. The predators on the prowl sensed the change and burrowed deeper into their caves, shivering out of fright. We, animals, don't have any prophetic devices, but we do have our 6th sense. We know today is a bad day to hunt. Fine, we'll just fast in our cribs. As their bellies expressed fierce disapproval, no animal dared to even peek outside, opting to go to bed hungry. Tuoba Liufeng gazed at the distant city. Lord Father, that is Windgaze City. It took us 2 months to meet our main army and travel our 3 million men at full speed. Tuoba Taizhan said, Where are the masters Chenyu's Majesty sent to help us break the arrays? Have them inspect the situation. Understood. Tuoba Liufeng bowed. 10 men flew towards Windgaze City, profound heaven experts and 6th-grade array masters. There was hardly any array in Tianyu that could stand after their passing. They were soon back with a report though. Commander, the lands are covered in 500 arrays. 200 3rd grade with plenty of 5th and 6th grade. It will take time and effort to unravel. I just knew it was Zhuo Fan's trick, forcing me to fight him here. Tuoba Taizhan sighed. Tuoba Liufeng's face fell at the implications. Zhuo Fan is vile and twisted, adhering to the art of war in choosing the right location, right time and right men. The drafting is not as important as forcing father to come here. We have to strike hard and fast. He holds down the city and has a terrain advantage. That's not all, Tuoba Taizhan sighed. We have the numerical advantage, but he can cower our beasts, thwarting our beast armies. On top of that, he has arrays on his side. Numbers will do us no good here. But the outcome can go either way in this case. This Zhuo Fan has played on his strengths to the utmost and cut ours. I can even venture to say he'll have the battlefield under control from the start and string us along. Tuoba Liufeng was uneasy. Looking at the city, all he saw was a steel bastion. Zhuo Fan is horrifying. Father, what do we do? Let the array masters do their work for now and then we'll see his reaction. Tuoba Taizhan looked at those 10 men. Break the arrays, hurry. Hey! Put on the spot, one of them bowed. Commander, there are 500 arrays there, with some special ones mixed in between. It will take years, decades. That's your problem. Military orders are paramount. Go. Tuoba Taihan barked. The men grew downcast. For God's sake, this amateur only knows how to bark orders. With so many arrays they'd soon be caught dead instead of breaking them, quite literally. To say nothing of someone coming out and taking their lives. Chuanrong, god of war, my foot. You know nothing of arrays. Since using force is out of the question, you stick us in? Good cover-up. Where there's arrays, send in the breakers, is that it? The men cursed and cursed, but still obeyed Wush Tilda. Arriving at the edge of Windgaze City, they got to work. Hoping to high heavens no one would come out to kill the poor saps, yet was there ever an array owner who didn't know his stuff was being tampered with? Tilda. In Luo Clan's hall, discussions of recruitment were ongoing when Zhuofan jerked and smiled. Steward Zhuo, what is it? Grandmother asked. Zhuofan shook his head. Just then, a Luo Clan disciple rushed in. Steward Zhuo, 10 old men are outside making signs. I can't make out any of it, but it seems to be cracking the arrays. Of course they are. You may go, it's fine. Just act as usual. Zhuofan waved. The man left while the house lords were panicking. Long Yifi said, does that mean Tuoba Taihan is here? It's too fast. We're nowhere near ready. Hey, so what if it is fast? Zhuofan snickered, let's go for a walk, see the fogies hard at work. The others were puzzled, the enemy's at the gates and you're in the mood for a stroll? Then they eased up. With the kid always playing cool, chilling means all is in the bag, so why worry? The men followed Zhuofan. They flew above the town and saw the 10 oldies shifting through gestures, faces red and cursing all the while. Jesus Christ, who the hell set this up? How is a second-grade array so damn complicated? And what kind of style is this? I've never seen it before in my life. They must have some array grandmaster to pull such precise arrays. Nothing works at breaking it. Enough chatter and more elbow grease. The oldies grumbled at the task turned impossible, making no headway all this time. These grand 6th-grade array masters balked before a 2nd-grade array. It was anything but normal. Long Yifi's group nodded up above, with even more admiration for Zhuofan's. Steward Zhuo's skills are uncanny, vexing those coots to death. Ha ha ha. Long Yifi laughed. The others bobbed their heads. Zhuofan chuckled, I may be competent in arrays, but not enough to make a 2nd-grade array have the power of a 6th. They can't break it because they don't understand it. Zhuofan yelled, trying to break a mere 2nd-grade array with gestures? You're profound heaven experts, for crying out loud, why not use force? Are you brain dead? Why didn't I think of that? The 10 men nodded and smiled above. They were curious to see their savior, though Zhuofan's cold smile scared them witless. Zhuofan, he has come to kill us. One man wailed, his knees shaking from fear. Zhuofan waved, it's fine, keep up the good work. You have all the time in the world, ha ha ha. Zhuofan chuckled, landing on the town gate stairs. The house lords were stunned, following him the most shocked were the fogies. One collected his meager courage, old friends, do we continue? Another nodded, and why not? With both sides giving us the go-ahead, we'll do just that. The others exclaimed, yeah, it's rare enough to have both sides in agreement, so let's just do it. Not doing so might get us a quicker death. The 10 made signs again but soon opted for Zhuofan's idea, to force their way through the 2nd-grade arrays. The house lords turned from them to Zhuofan. Steward Zhuo, what's this all about? I'm waiting. For what? The experts to show up. Zhuofan snickered, Tuoba Taihan isn't charging because of the arrays. He had these 10 bags of bones take a crack at them first. Killing them is within right but shows nervousness, while sparing them raises the suspicion of using the empty city tactic. It's a classic war tactic, blending truth and lies. The odder my reactions, the more confused he will be and less prone to act. But time waits for no one. The longer he waits, the bigger our power in Tianyu grows. He will act, and with experts, in the fastest and hardest way. The House Lords thought, Steward Zhuo has been aiming for those experts from the start. I'm just dying to see what counter the Emperor has, now that he knows young Sanzi is with me. Zhuofan's eyes were a sucking abyss. Chapter 483, The Tiger, the Wolf and the Snake. Chapter 483, The Tiger, the Wolf and the Snake. Lord Father, just what on earth is Zhuofan thinking? Someone's cracking his defenses, yet he just stands there to watch. He's looking down on us. Tuoba Liufeng pointed at the House Lords with an odd look. Tuoba Taizhan frowned. Are those arrays real or not? Is he buying time? His actions are baffling and hard to make sense of. Liufeng, come with me to see the elders. Tuoba Taizhan spoke. Tuoba Liufeng cried, so soon? Aren't they our trump card? Speed is of the essence in war. Tuoba Taizhan walked and Tuoba Liufeng hurried after. The two came upon a tent when they heard a nasty voice. Liana, you have a wonderful and fine constitution. So young and yet so able in beast taming. 2 years under my tutelage and you'll surpass even me. Hey. I thank you, Elder Shi, for your kind words, but I can't bear to leave my family, Liana said with difficulty. Another voice cut her off. Commander Tuba will not stand in the way of Liana's brilliant future. Tuoba Taizhan was outraged. That coot is being fresh with my daughter. Tuoba Liufeng was just as annoyed. But they both bottled the rage as they entered. Commander, young master. The 8 wolf wardens bowed, though just as outraged, while above the main seat were 3 extra-wide chairs, occupied by bare-chested men showing their muscles. One man had silky black hair, with big eyebrows and big eyes. On his chest was a huge and ferocious tiger. The father and son bowed. Elder Hu. On his right was a bearded elder with narrow eyes and knit brows, yet he let out an eerie green gaze, instilling fear. On his chest was a mangy wolf. Elder Lang. The two bowed again. The last one had a sinister face, with a handlebar mustache and vulgar eyes. His hand was caressing Tuba Liana's soft hand as he showed a content look. On his chest was a viper with savage eyes. The father and son clenched their fists and bowed. Elder Shi. Ha ha ha, Commander Tuba. Elder Shi never drew his hand. Liana couldn't take hers back even if she wanted to either. He was taking advantage of the commander's daughter in broad daylight. These 3 never cared much about him anyway. Imperial Tutor saw Tuoba Taizhan on the brink of exploding. Brother Taizhan, have you come to ask the elders to step in? Yes. Tuoba Taizhan cupped his hands. Elders, please break the city's arrays and help my army enter Windgaze City. The 3 elders snorted. Elder She was still holding that oh so fine hand. Commander Tuba, I thought I told you, we are ethereal stage experts, not your soldiers. Breaking arrays is your job. We're only here to deal with any unforeseen expert that may crop up. The other elders nodded. Pretentious pricks, breaking the defense isn't your duty, but hitting on my little girl is? Tuoba Taizhan fumed. The 8 wolf wardens glowered with bloodlust, but the elders had no care in the world. Radiant stage experts could come and score at them and it'd still do nothing. Han Tiemor mediated. Elders, it involves Tianyu giving us 1/10 of its lands, rich in spirit mines, of interest to beast taming sect. With the arrays in place, Commander Tuba's attacks will be for naught, and the more time passes the worse it will get, leading to defeat. When you return to the sect, it will be hard to explain it. Imperial Tutor, is that a threat? Elder Who glared. Han Tiemor waved. I would never. It is only a conclusion of mine. The longer we take, the more likely it is for Tianyu's 3 guardian sects to hear of this. It will blow the easy credit. Elders will take into smoke and return empty-handed. Sigh, I just can't bear to see it. The 3 changed expressions at last. It was Elder who nodded. Imperial Tutor, you have a good head on your shoulders. Right then, we better get it over with. Obscene snake, jackal, let's go. We'll have plenty of time for fun when we get Tianyu's land. Elder Who left. Elder Lang was fast behind while Elder She sighed at his breakup with Liana's hand, though not forgetting to give Liana a once-over, filled with unmentionable promises. Liana, I want you as my disciple. Hi. All 3 left the tent. Tuoba Taizhan shuddered in pure anger. Jarlahan roared, you call those beast-taming sect elders? They're a joke. Liana sobbed in silence, with Tuoba Liufeng hugging her. Han Tiemor sighed. Brother Taizhan, come, you know about conquering cities best. Your experience is needed. The 8 wolf wardens have to come as well. Conquering? How can I ever say that when I am so powerless, as a commander of Chuanrong, to even protect my own daughter? Tuoba Taizhan blustered. Han Tiemor sighed. There was no way to know they'd send these childish men when we asked the beast-taming sect for help. Hu Xiongmeng, Lang Kanbao, and Shi Yinxie are the worst allies to have. I heard Yin Shi even has a coupling skill, robbing countless women of their yin. Brother Taizhan, danger will come now that he has his eyes on your daughter. I advise you to take her someplace else, where he can't find her. Tuoba Taizhan looked at Liana with worry. Liana was nervous, watching him. Lost Han Tiemor, His Highness, the Crown Prince, had asked for Liana last year. If I agree, Tuoba Taizhan hesitated, that Yin Shi won't dare make a move on the Crown Prince's woman. Han Tiemor nodded, but His Highness is lustful and reckless. There will be no way out from this. At least Liana will be safe. When a girl's yin will be robbed, her life will go with it. Tuoba Taizhan sighed. Liana was heartbroken, with big tears streaming down her cheek knowing her impossible fate. Moving on to the elders flying to Windgaze City, they showed unprecedented mockery at the 500 arrays shining on the clouds above. Hey, is this what has made Tuoba Taizhan so jittery? Humph, a snap from us and it'll be all over. Elder Hu laughed, that old fool must be scared of taking too many losses to send us. Meng Hu, just get on with it already. Elder Lang hurried him on, I'll do it then, since everyone knows arrays beneath 7th grade are pointless, they can't do anything to ethereal stage experts. Breaking these arrays is a cinch. Just as he moved, a voice came. Commander Tuba sent you. It's no use with these strange arrays. You can only do it by force. One old man said, taking them for allies. Zhuofan's gang heard him as well. They jerked, noticing the three elders. They must be really strong to come so close yet for us to not notice them. Grandmother said. Zhuofan frowned, the experts are here. Elder Lang snorted at the old men and flicked a blue wind. Zhuofan watched as the fogies fell to the ground with empty eyes. Soul destruction, an ethereal stage expert. Zhuofan shouted. Chapter 484, Stalling. Chapter 484, Stalling. Ethereal stage experts. The House Lords cried. Tianyu had never seen the likes of an ethereal stage expert in its history, not until Li Jingtian. Yet finding three of them in one place had them all shell-shocked. Zhuofan knew this conflict was bound to lead to this. Grandmother, please call Elder Li and the couple. I'll stall them. Steward Zhuo, can't all these arrays stall them? Why must you go yourself? Grandmother asked. A kaboom sound gave the answer. A simple wave of Elder Lang's sleeve made all the impervious arrays crumble. The House Lords were dumbstruck, staring into nothing. The arrays weren't worth even a roadblock to ethereal stage experts. Zhuofan was sweating. Does that answer you? There's a saying, beneath 7th grade, everything is ethereal. No array under the 7th grade can hold back an ethereal stage expert. The House Lords stared dully at Zhuofan, their minds still catching up to reality. What are you looking at me for? Go get the elders. Zhuofan barked and they shot for Blackwind Mountain against ethereal stage experts. Li Jingtian was the only one who could fight them. Elder Lang mocked them. 3 profound heaven ants, trying to crawl away? Think again. He flicked again just as Zhuofan blocked him. Elder Lang was taken aback for a second there, as were the others. The only profound heaven cultivators they saw were the kind to flee at their sight. This sole exception had them lost. Elder Lang faltered mid-attack. Tuoba Taizhan was coming over, leading his army with the fall of the arrays. When he stumbled upon this scene, they were just as dumbstruck. That's Zhuofan. What's this new marshal doing, stopping the old guys, looking to die? Jia Lahan blurted. It was the unanimous reaction on everyone's faces. Only the veteran Tuoba Taizhan had a bad feeling from his honed instincts through decades of bloodshed. Kid, do you have any idea who we are? Elder Lang snorted. Zhuofan mocked. How should I know? You didn't tell me. And not to forget, who do you think you are to have the gall to destroy my 500 arrays? Ha ha ha, only an ignorant fool would block me. Elder Lang cackled. Jia Lahan was baffled. Wasn't this guy always clever? Even without knowing how to identify an ethereal stage expert from the crowd, that demonstration is obvious enough to make a difference. He should be running right about now. The others thought Zhuofan an idiot as well. Only a handful, Tuoba Taizhan included, sensed something odd. Then perk up your ignorant ears, fool, we are ethereal stage expert. Elder Lang stuck out his chin with boundless confidence. By his reckoning, the kid should now be soiling his pants and wailing in horror. After all, ethereal stage was the peak of power in the Western lands, and he, with his wolfish temper, just loved to toy with his food. First drive fear into their hearts, then hunt them down in the cruelest way imaginable. Fan wouldn't play ball though. The only look on his face was a long one. Ethereal stage expert. What's that? I've only heard radiant stage expert as the strongest. Tianyu only has radiant stage experts also. My life's goal has always been to reach it and become the best in the world. Elder Lang felt like talking to a wall. This kid's ignorance is mind-blowing, taking radiant stage as the peak of cultivation. Which clan is he from? How sad that they know so little of the world. His plan to act the blowhard went down the drain now that the audience was too dumb to acknowledge his greatness. Elder Lang clenched his fist to get rid of this eyesore. And yet, he just couldn't have the fool die without knowing his swag. That would be immoral, and so, the fiend in him doubled down on giving him the ins and outs of ethereal stage with utmost patience. Kid, ethereal stage is a level beyond the radiant stage. Even 100 radiant stage experts can't beat a single one. Oh, so that's how it is. That makes you awesomer than radiant stage expert. Fan bobbed his head, enlightened. Elder Lang chuckled with pride. Now that he knows to recognize greatness, next should be fear. Once he runs, we'll hunt him down. Hi. Fan had no such intention though, ever calm and ever baffling. Boy, don't you know our greatness? Elder Lang blinked. Fan nodded. Of course, you're ethereal stage experts, able to beat 100 radiant stage experts, no? You already said that. Don't tell me you forgot. Is senility setting in already? Elder Lang choked on his words and exploded. Why aren't you running scared? Where's the horror, the panic? Why are your pants dry still? Because. Looking back to see the house lords gone, Fan snickered. Because I can't let you pass. Say what? The trio cried. When a radiant stage expert goes ethereal, his soul achieves enlightenment, free of the world's bindings, crushing anything beneath 7th grade. Fan shook his head, his tone sarcastic. I knew the instant you broke my arrays how strong you were. I was only faking it, play pretend, act the fool to yank your chain. How else would those old buddies of mine make a run for it? What a stroke of dumb luck that I got stuck with you 3 morons to play 20 questions with. Liana giggled and the others chortled. The old ones were their helpers, but they didn't win Tuba Army's respect in the least. It sure livened them up seeing them toyed by a child. Tuoba Taishan nodded. Old Dugu made the right choice, brave and shrewd, honorable and noble. He is the best choice to be Dugu Army's marshal. And yet. Tuoba Taishan frowned. Rotten piece of scat. You dare to play me? Elder Lang blustered, slapping a vile air gathered around his hand, and that simple palm turned into a savage wolf, entering Fan with a fierce headache. His soul felt gnawed at, his mind fading. It was a perk of reaching the ethereal stage. Soul destruction radiant stage could launch soul attacks, while ethereal stage took it one step further, making it materialize and even turn into a spirit. Take Elder Lang for example, his soul turned into that of a wolf. It would enter the target and feast on his soul. Bam! Fan slammed into the city wall and got buried under the rubble. Elder Lang wrote him off, turning away. A puny profound heaven ant dares toy with us? Ahihem, he only played you. We've got nothing to do with it. Fierce Tiger excused himself. Obscene Snake nodded with how an ethereal stage expert was duped by a profound heaven pup. He'd have no honor left to face the world. The best way out of it was to get that lame wolf to be the patsy. Elder Lang was speechless, realizing how honorless they were. Like you saw through the kid's act of stalling. But weren't we all taken in? You're no better. How childish. Alas, this shall be the second time in my long life that I shall mourn over the death of my adversary. Tuoba Taishan sighed. First was old Dugu. And when I thought of Fan to be my next adversary, he would meet his end before we could even test ourselves. Heroes always die young. This victory brings me no joy. The others nodded. Even as their enemy, Fan had earned their respect. Tuba Liana sighed, recalling their fond first encounter, and was touched by sadness. He did save me once, I guess. Tilda. The rubble lit up with a flash of azure. Chapter 485, Fighting Ethereal Stage Expert. Chapter 485, Fighting Ethereal Stage Expert. How could this be? Elder Lang stared at the rubble with palpable shock. Why do I still sense life force from it? Did he survive? The other elders mimicked his shock boom. Zhuo Fan unfolded his wings and shot into the sky. He had an azure flame hovering on his forehead. How the hell did he survive Elder Lang's strike? Jia Lahan was in denial. An ethereal stage expert using soul destruction on a profound heaven cultivator was tantamount to squashing a bug, an overkill. Yet to survive such a devastating blow, Zhuo Fan had garnered everyone's odd looks. Even those elders considered him a freak. Huff tilde. Gasping, Zhuo Fan bled from his mouth, though the azure flame grew in intensity. Reaching out to feel the heat, Zhuo Fan rejoiced. The azure flame was his soul guardian. Elder Lang squinted and said, "Fierce tiger, something is seriously off about him. He took my palm, yet all he got was a flesh wound. It just doesn't make sense." Elder Hu ventured, "He must have a soul spiritual weapon or a demonic treasure. That's the only explanation." A fire burned in Elder Hu and Elder Shi's eyes. Their looks full of greed. Soul treasures were as scarce as hen's teeth, even for ethereal stage experts. Elder Hu had lost his bloodlust, now turned into lust for wealth. Zhuo Fan, reading them like an open book, made a stealthy sign. Heaven cracking. How? Elder Lang cut right to the chase, unleashing a huge wolf image around him that pounced at Zhuo Fan as he shot forward with his palm. He unleashed all his soul power with a soul martial art. Such overkill was unheard of. An ethereal stage expert using a martial art on a tiny profound heaven cultivator. It went to show that Elder Lang cared for nothing but to kill his quarry outright, even foregoing his status, to get his hands on that treasure as soon as possible. All the treasures in the world wouldn't protect Zhuo Fan this time, giving him a one-way trip down under. Elder Hu and Elder Shi snorted. Tuoba Tieshan's side's mood was heavy, with Liana even showing worry. Zhuo Fan's sign completed as he shouted, Wraith Style's third move, modified Necro Dragon Screech, Kuan Phoenix Lightning. Shriek tilde. A resounding cry announced the appearance of an odd and humongous bird. Covered in azure flames and with purple lightning streaking its body, it got even the space to warp. Zhuo Fan used the traits of two sacred beasts in unleashing this new move. Specialized in souls, the azure flame was a gem in refining the soul, while the purple lightning was its opposite, rampant and savage in its deadly destructive power. Zhuo Fan was confident his move could help him hold his own against an ethereal stage expert. What is that thing? Elder Lang shuddered. Whoosh. The odd bird shot straight for the wolf before he could react. Bam! On impact, the bird scattered and Zhuo Fan spat blood. He got a killer headache while the azure flame burned hotter, yet the scattering motes of azure stuck to the wolf, making it howl in agony. Purple lightning shot like a snake through it, punching hundreds of holes and pulverizing the rest. Elder Lang was trembling, gawking at the impossible made possible as blood seeped from his mouth. Then came a world of hurt, a searing pain lacing through his head. Jackal. His friends turned from him to the weakened Zhuo Fan, having lost their contempt. A profound heaven cultivator and an ethereal stage expert went head to head. The result? The ethereal stage expert was badly wounded. It was unprecedented. No matter the soul martial art used, nothing could have bridged the abyss between them. It made no sense at all. The elders were floored and Tuoba Tieshan's side was dumbstruck. They had written Zhuo Fan off in the last strike, but the cunning kid not only fought Elder Lang back, but gave him a blow he wouldn't soon forget. Their eyes held unspeakable horror when watching this abomination. Is he even a bloody human? Zhuo Fan took a deep breath, his face pale and hands shaking. He had one-upped Elder Lang good with that move, but there was no denying it. Their gap was just too huge. He took that soul destruction martial art and lived, but he was in an even sorrier state. About to break. A casual strike would kill him. At this point he was in the worst danger of his life. Elder Lang bore through the soul pain, and despite the soul scarring he went through, it paled compared to Zhuo Fan's precarious state, but it carried a far heavier weight, the greatest humiliation of his life. Rotten punk, I'll kill you. Elder Lang spat through clenched teeth, stomping towards him. Each step shook the earth. Elder Hu reminded, Jackal, he's on his last leg. Another soul attack will finish him. I know that, but I won't give him the satisfaction of a quick death. Elder Lang flicked and a blue wind shot for Zhuo Fan. The incoming storm howled like countless beasts. It went beyond mere wind, but became a horde of thumb-sized wolves, clawing for their prey. Profound ranked martial art, devouring wolf pack. I will tear your soul one mote at a time to let you taste unspeakable torture. Elder Lang roared. Liana covered her mouth, tearing up. The rest lamented, Zhuo Fan is an unrivaled warrior of his generation. Instead of respect, he is met with a cruel death. Zhuo Fan shook, his mind going a mile a minute. Maybe shift will work. But the soul attack didn't give him any room to wiggle. It was then that a shout came soaring. Demonic dragon. Roar. With a rumble, a black dragon appeared around Zhuo Fan, whipping the wolf storm away. Elder Lang stepped back, watching the imposing man shielding Zhuo Fan and oozing black energy. Elder Li, took you long enough. Zhuo Fan grinned. Steward Zhuo, forgive the delay. Li Jingtian saw his weakened state and turned his bloodshot eyes at Elder Lang. Did you hurt Steward Zhuo? I'll tear you to pieces. Li Jingtian shouted. Elder Lang mocked, you're fresh into the ethereal stage. You've barely focused your soul to be able to take that tone with me, you blowhard. The only reason you pushed me back is because I'm wounded. Be a good boy and scram. It'd be a pity for a stray attack to end you. It'll make reaching ethereal stage a waste. Ha ha ha, Elder Li, see that? They're in the ethereal stage yet their brains on the fritz, especially that white beard with his wolf soul. He takes the cake. Here we are at war and the imbecile spills the beans on his condition. He has more value as an enemy than an ally. Zhuo Fan was full of contempt. Elder who and Elder she glared at Elder Lang. They had to admit, the kid is frigging right. Liana giggled again while the rest smiled and nodded. In this precarious moment, Zhuo Fan keeps his cool like a true marshal and hero. Only Elder Lang's face grew hotter with every jab, about to pop. Chapter 486, Ethereal Battle. Chapter 486, Ethereal Battle. Punk-ass brat, I'll cut you from stem to stern. Elder Lang spat, but Elder who held him back. Jackal, you're wounded. Let me handle it. Elder who exploded with power, enveloped by a tiger image. His mighty and imposing figure made it hard for even the wounded Zhuo Fan to breathe. Third layer of ethereal stage is no pushover. I can feel it even from behind. Elder Li. Li Jingtian tensed, face hard but eyes raging, typical martial fanatic stuff. Ha ha ha, right on time. Li Jingtian stepped up, surrounded by a black dragon. Its aura wasn't on par with the tiger, but didn't lose much either. Fierce tiger grumbled, what the hell is wrong with this place? They're all freaks of nature. I have 2 layers on him and should hold the advantage. Yet this advantage is barely visible. There's no way his 2 layers under me. Elder who looked on with suspicion. How was he to know Li Jingtian was a martial fanatic through and through? When the going got tough, he got more going. Besides, he had the heaven-reaching pill on his side. With Yuan Qi surging like a sea, he wielded the power to jump layers, from first to third. Bam. The dragon and tiger clashed, shuddering the space around them with both of them stepping back from the clash. 5 steps on Elder whose corner and 10 on Li Jingtian's. Though the most shocked were Fierce Tiger and his gang, their eyes popping out. A fresh ethereal stage cultivator just stood up to a seasoned third layer one. For crying out loud, what do they feed these guys? First was the profound heaven prick and now this. Is this a worldly sect or what? How are they all talents? The trio was speechless. Fierce Tiger grumbled but still wouldn't accept it, rushing with another tiger at Li Jingtian. I refuse to frickin' believe the great me can't handle an ethereal stage newbie. Li Jingtian obliged Fierce Tiger with another black dragon. The same thing happened, but this time Li Jingtian fell only 7 steps back. Fierce Tiger was even more annoyed. Li Jingtian was growing as he fought. His 2 other elders watched shell-shocked. Is Windgaze City a den of fiends? Not one of them is human. Again, Li Jingtian was perky, going for another strike. Fierce Tiger shuddered but had to meet him. Black Dragon and Tiger tackled each other till the sky turned dark and the earth rumbled, meeting at every turn with no one having the advantage. Soul waves filled the sky, causing even the jackal and obscene snake to grumble. Weren't they claiming there was no ethereal stage expert in Tianyu? We came here for a stroll, killing the enemy left and right. Yet an ethereal stage cultivator had just shown up to stand up to Fierce Tiger, and stand up he did. Intelligence said Tianyu is a small fry. Wait till I get my hands on them. At least the situation wasn't completely out of control, since they had the numbers advantage. Jackal swiveled his insidious eyes on Zhuo Fan. Hey, wounded whelp, you've lost your shield. Be good and drop dead. Jackal sent blue howling winds, with bared fangs and maws. Zhuo Fan stood still out of lack of strength, If nothing else, Li Jingtian had no way to help, not when tangled with fierce tiger. It was then that a couple shouted, "Fire and water combine, life and death art." Who tilde? A white and blinding ray shined through the clouds, running over Elder Lang's attack and going for him. The elder defended with his hand. But the white ray was a fusion of blazing heat and icy water, turning it into an unstoppable force, driving pain into the depths of his soul. He clenched and the ray scattered into motes, yet his face switched between burning hot and ice cold, shuddering all the while. "Jackal, are you all right?" "Obscene snake," cried Elder Lang, gnashed his teeth, shaking off the ice and scorching heat, but not the killer headache. He found two people shielding Zhuo Fan, the power couple, Qiu Yanghai and Xue Qingjian. "For God's sake, this place is a freak show. How can two peak radiant stage experts hurt me?" Gasping, Elder Lang spat, "They are close to the ethereal stage, but they haven't given their soul form and can't use soul destruction. That strike is only a pseudo-ethereal stage attack at best. I'll wipe the floor with these ignorant fools. Hold on." Obscene Snake called, his lustful eyes roaming over Xue Qingjian's exquisite form and gulping, "Leave the two, especially the woman, to me, hey." Jackal knew his sick hobby had reared its ugly head and nodded. Qiu Yanghai saw he was after his old gal with those foul eyes and roared, "Biddy, let's take that old coot down together." Hi, why, jealous much?" Xue Qingjian giggled with love. Qiu Yanghai felt like spitting fire from rage. Zhuo Fan reminded, "Elder Qiu, Sister Xue, he's in the second layer of ethereal stage. It will be hard even if you are together. Steward Zhuo, we got this." Qiu Yanghai snorted. Xue Qingjian beamed, "My old codger is just that feisty. Not even I can hold him back." Zhuo Fan glanced at Obscene Snake, "Sister Xue, lend me your ear." Xue Qingjian was dazed for a moment and nodded at his message before flying after Qiu Yanghai. Obscene Snake laughed when the couple came, just what he wanted. Elder Lang saw that Zhuo Fan was by himself at long last and grinned. Though Zhuo Fan snickered, "You crusty old coot, haven't you had enough? Bring it if you're so confident that I'm alone. You've gotten hurt thrice now, so let's see how many hits can a second layer of ethereal stage expert take." Jackal frowned, thinking back. All his wounds came from taking his enemy lightly. First at Zhuo Fan's hand, second at Li Jingtian coming to the kid's rescue whipping him away, and third by the power couple. Each of these beatdowns wasn't much by itself, but they compounded. Sooner or later he'd have so many, his soul would be damaged, making it dangerous. This would never have happened if they all came at him from the front and open. I just had to be careless. Jackal scanned his surroundings, showing utmost caution to not fall for any more cons. Zhuo Fan smiled, figuring him out. "Say, who do you think will win, my side or yours? Your new ethereal stage cultivator looks tough, but there's no way he can stand up to fierce tiger in the third layer. It's only a matter of time. As for the other two, they're just at peak radiant stage. They may attack with ethereal stage power when united, but are in no way up to Obscene Snake's second layer's standard." Jackal mocked. Zhuo Fan nodded, "That makes it easy then. I'm barely hanging on and you're waiting for their outcome. When you'll have them taken care of by your flanks, getting me should be easy peasy, no?" "True. I must say, the kid is only in profound heaven stage and wounded to boot, yet makes a whole lot of sense. He won't go anywhere. And when his buddies have finished their matches, he'd have no problem taking the punk out, tormenting and running him through a hell only his twisted mind could conceive." Jackal nodded and took on the air of a true expert. Tuoba Taishan shook his head. Elder Lang's brain must be missing something to get stiff again. Chapter 487, Lust Ain't All Fun and Games. Chapter 487, Lust Ain't All Fun and Games. "How?" Tuoba Liufeng asked. Tuoba Taishan explained, stalling. "I don't know what the kid's game is, but one thing is certain, he's buying time for something. Liufeng, whenever you encounter a situation like this, you don't chat your enemy up and be firm in your decision. Fear is the mind killer." Tuoba Liufeng nodded. "Should we tell him?" "Absolutely not." Tuoba Taishan and Han Tiemor spoke in tandem and then burst out laughing. The others were clueless to the inside joke. From what they saw, the commander and imperial tutor were worried Tuoba Liufeng might spill the beans. All of them grumbled at the old foxes. Han Tiemor said, "Liufeng, what do you suppose will happen by going to Elder Lang and telling him he's stupid to his face?" "I'll be ground to a pulp." Tuoba Liufeng said, puzzled Han Tiemor added, and that's the truth of it. The elders are selfish, rash and on a high horse. Reminding them that they've been fooled again is the same as calling them dim-witted. They'll see the light all right, but only after taking your life. That being said, Zhuo Fan's one smooth talker, prepping Elder Lang in just a few short words to attack you if you ever try ruining his plan. Tuoba Liufeng was soaked in sweat, bowing many times in thanks. Tuoba Taizhan said, "These three are foul men. They may be our helpers, but one should stay as far away as possible from them. The worse they are the better. Just look at Zhuo Fan making them suffer at every turn. Our great commander wants Zhuo Fan to take these foul bastards down a peg." They all sported a sneaky smile, like first-row seaters to a great show. They were even rooting for Zhuo Fan. "Marshal Zhuo, hold nothing back, don't even show us respect. Waste em, hey." Han Tiemor shook his head at their stance. Anyways, back to the fight. The power couple versus Elder She was in progress. Qiu Yanghai and Xue Qingjian touched palms as they used the life and death art, gathering an incredible power in between. Not that Elder She had a mind to care, getting hot and bothered over Xue Qingjian's body. Even wiggling his eyebrows, Xue Qingjian batted her eyes in reply. Qiu Yanghai was outraged and with a swing of his arm, he shot the soul power attack. The white light warped the air as it shot for Obscene Snake's chest. Elder She was still grinning, surrounded now by snake images woven into a net. The white light stopped dead in its tracks and its power faded. It thinned down from a bowl-thick width all the way to that of a spear. Qiu Yanghai saw the snakes sucking on his ray. Hey, foolish juniors, peak radiant stage is worlds below ethereal stage. You use soul power, while ethereal stage can use their very soul. It's beyond your comprehension. Surrender if you know what's good for you. Obscene Snake laughed and resumed leering at Xue Qingjian's perfect form. "Especially you, my pretty, I'd hate to kill you. You'd make a much finer contribution as my disciple. What do you say? You dirty old man, she's my hag, so don't waste your frigging breath." Qiu Yanghai blustered. Elder She waved a python at him. It coiled around him, and opened its maw and spat miasma. Qiu Yanghai's eyes grew hazy, making him lethargic. His mind started drifting. "Old codger." Xue Qingjian shouted. Obscene Snake snickered. "Dearie, your old man is fine. But since my soul is the king python, now that is poisoned, it will rot his soul to death. No one can save him." "No." Xue Qingjian panicked. Obscene Snake curled his finger at her. "I can spare him, sure, but you have to become mine. So what do you say to coming over?" Xue Qingjian saw Qiu Yanghai in the clutches of the python and sighed, walking over to that wretched. Obscene Snake Jackal laughed. "One battle we've already won. When Fierce Tiger finishes that old guy, I will deal with you. I'll give you a taste of living hell, ha ha ha." Zhuo Fan opted for silence, his eyes focused on Xue Qingjian. "Come, my pretty, ha ha." As she got close, Obscene Snake yanked her into his embrace. Xue Qingjian struggled to shake him off, to no avail. Her eyes darted around, her voice soft and soothing. Be gentle. You're hurting me. Bag of dead bones, let my hag go." Qiu Yanghai should have been put under from the python's poison. Obscene Snake gave him a taunting look, turning back to his prey. "My pretty, I'll let you go but don't go anywhere." "Where can I go? I'll always be with you, ha ha ha." Xue Qingjian giggled. Obscene Snake let go of her and Xue Qingjian's eyes turned cold, striking his chest. Obscene Snake easily held her palm, grabbing Xue Qingjian tighter. "Ha ha ha, I just knew you're sassy. I like you. Plenty of sassy girls have wanted to kill me or kill themselves, but all of them ended up in my hands. You're no different. Go to hell." Xue Qingjian lashed that only got Obscene Snake more excited. "My pretty, the feistier you are, the more you turn me on. Now give me a big kiss." Obscene Snake puckered his lips, closing in on Xue Qingjian's pristine face. "Stop, pervert." Qiu Yanghai roared, still trapped. Obscene Snake's lips did touch a face, but when he looked at that face, the sight scared him to death. "What are you doing here?" Obscene Snake, hugging Zhuo Fan, felt like taking a bite out of something foul and rotten. Elder Lang was dumbstruck, finding Xue Qingjian in Zhuo Fan's place. "Old coot, how do you like my eyes? Are they nice?" Zhuo Fan cooed. Obscene Snake was all shaken up, to the point of parting with his lunch. "I'm here to kiss a hottie, not a guy. And you're asking me about your eyes? Shove off." Zhuo Fan was glued to him before Obscene Snake could shake him off. Zhuo Fan grabbed his head and stared into his eyes in a touching moment. "Hey, are little old Miss Eyes pretty? You damn pervert, you like playing around, is it? See how I'll knock you dead." Obscene Snake roared, his rage breaking the vault of heaven, as if Zhuo Fan had killed his mama and then asked him if he liked it. Zhuo Fan stuck to him like a koala, his eyes flashing golden. "They are pretty, you know, look closer. Look at your..." Obscene Snake's head simply vanished. It was all part of Zhuo Fan's clever ploy. Xue Qingjian was the honeypot, then they'd use the old switcheroo to catch him on the wrong foot, or with the wrong beauty. All that was left was for Zhuo Fan to use that eye of his, void annihilation, and deprive the old man of the useless decoration on his shoulders. Blood spurted like a fountain and his body hit dirt. Chapter 488, All-Out Assault. Chapter 488, All-Out Assault. Obscene Snake. Elder Lang cried. Tuoba Tieshan's side was just as stunned. They knew Zhuo Fan was up to no good, but they had failed to grasp how high Zhuo Fan would shoot. A profound heaven cultivator taking down an ethereal stage expert's head. He first neutralized Elder Lang with words while aiming for Elder Shi. "Zhuo Fan is insidious." Tuoba Taizhan gasped. The others were on the same page about that. Tuba Liana was dazed, looking at the slumping corpse as her heart gave an odd thump. Zhuo Fan jumped away and shouted, "Elder Li, they're enraged. Flee." Li Jingtian's ears twitched and he broke away. While chasing them, Fierce Tiger sensed danger from the spatial fluctuations and dodged. He saw Zhuo Fan's right eye's two golden rings whoosh. Li Jingtian grabbed Zhuo Fan and flew away. With Obscene Snake losing his head, the python around Qiu Yanghai faded away. He rejoined Xue Qingjian and they were right behind Li Jingtian. Fierce Tiger went over to Obscene Snake's body, then glared at Jackal. "What the hell happened? How did they get his head?" Elder Lang was still shaken up, stomping. "How should I know? 1 second he was here in front of me and then the next second the punk was in Obscene Snake's arms, taking his head. He was dead before I even saw it. He got what he deserved, looking down on his enemy and going mad with lust. I've told him time and time again, lust ain't all fun and games. This is the result. Enough of your useless advice. It's all your fault for not having a hold on the brat." With a bellow, Obscene Snake's corpse flopped around and a brown python came out of it. It had cruel eyes, always hissing and equipped with a pair of poisonous fangs ready to tear its prey. "That rotten bastard ruined my body. I will tear his soul and take his body as revenge." The python raved, its tail lashing everywhere. Elder Hu and Jackal shrugged, then watched Zhuo Fan go. "Old Lang, should we help Obscene Snake get a new body?" "Of course, even without that damn snake's issue, I'd still tear the punk limb from limb." Elder Lang gnashed his teeth. Obscene Snake's body flopped some more, his voice howling. "What are you waiting for? Get him. Without a body, I'm losing 1/10 of my strength every quarter of an hour. I need to get him fast. Why not just pick anyone? Get yourself a body first and then we'll go." Fierce Tiger proposed, but Obscene Snake shook his huge head in anger. "Screw that, the kid ruined my body and it'll be his body that I'll have. Anything short will make me a laughingstock back at the sec. Like you aren't already a laughingstock." A grand ethereal stage expert got his head popped by a profound heaven pup is the joke of the millennium. Getting revenge won't ever change that. This damn snake is the shame of our beast-taming sect. Fierce Tiger and Jackal snickered inside, but as fellow sect members, letting the enemy just waltz away would throw them in the same boat. Without further ado, they chased, be it for the glory of their sect, or for personal vendetta. They went after the devilish Zhuo Fan. 2 men and 1 snake soul flew away. Tuoba Taizhan grew heavy. These elders have been duped again. It's a law. From Zhuo Fan's movements, it's clear that this was premeditated. From the start he has targeted our aces, getting them out of the picture before letting the armies fight. But they're weaker in that regard. Tuoba Liufeng said. Tuoba Taizhan spoke with wisdom, the lesser of 2 evils. Their army may be on the disadvantage, but it is far better than letting the ethereal stage experts turn the battlefield into a killing field. That is to say, Zhuo Fan has even more plans. Tuoba Taizhan drifted off with a frown. Han Tiemor exclaimed, "Brother Taizhan, you mean Zhuo Fan is not only luring them, but also going to trap them?" "Correct, to trap the elders, they have to be lured first. I fear that their fate is already sealed." Tuoba Taizhan sighed, They say not to push a cornered enemy. Yet these elders, but they're all in the ethereal stage, with anything beneath a 7th grade array turned moot, what kind of snare could hold them? Tuoba Liufeng asked. Tuoba Taishan shook his head. Zhuofan exceeds all expectations, with his countless tricks. Did any of us imagine he'd be ruining Elder Shi's body? Everyone faltered, recalling Elder Shi turning into a snake, and his rage. Zhuofan was outstanding in his skills and devices. Anything was possible with him around Lord Father. What do we do? Help them? No. Tuoba Taishan shot him down. Better finish this war farce. Zhuofan wants to end our experts, then deal with us. Before he comes back, we will throw everything we have into Windgaze City. He will deal with the elders, but I will take the city. It will be our victory, all-out assault. Capture Windgaze City. Tuoba Taishan barked orders and his generals bowed. Yes, Commander. Within 15 minutes the Chuanrong army was in formation. Moving like a black swarm towards Windgaze City, the 8 wolf wardens led their divisions to lay a powerful siege. The 4 tigers of Tianyu turned to the million men behind them and sighed. 600,000 of them were veterans of Dugu army, while the rest were draftees. No different from a rabble, the odds were way stacked against them, yet they showed no concern, not when everything went according to a certain plan. Just like Marshal said, Tuoba Taishan is out to end it fast. The 8 wolf wardens are all sent into battle too. An all-out assault. Dugu Feng smiled. Dugu Lin nodded and turned to the grumbling Dugu Hua. Since we'll be the bait, not worthy of our skills, third brother sure is sour, ha ha ha. When has it ever been like this? We're about to go to war with the enemy, Commander, yet we can't even take a swing. Marshal is so unfair. Dugu Hua huffed and stomped. Dugu Feng stated, true, it's not like Marshal is old 5th steward for nothing. He has to make him look good. Besides, if there's one team that can cut through the enemy like butter, it's that creepy division. With our men, we won't even get past the wardens. Just the mention of their 5th brother had Dugu Hua whining again. Each soldier should be placed according to their skills. Giving me that division would allow it to reach its true potential, unlike under 5th. Can't Marshal see this simple truth? Dad isn't blind, he just doesn't care about you. Jiyu Santong chomped out an ingredient to the side. Bored, Dad is a nepotist. Who are you to him, that he would just give you those hard refined war puppets? Dugu Hua didn't take it well. Jiyu Santong, are you any different? You're his son, tough and strong. So why is it that he chose the elders over you in dealing with those ethereal stage experts? Because you're that much of a burden. Dad asked me to look after you. Never to leave you out of my sight. Afraid that you worthless generals need babysitting. That's why I'm stuck here instead of wasting that frigging old foggy who messed with Dad. Jiyu Santong fumed. Dugu Feng intervened before Dugu Hua blew a gasket. Now, we're all on the same side, following Marshal's orders. Moreover, Jiyu Santong is right. The enemy is sending specialists after our heads. Take a look. The others followed Dugu Feng's finger and found a fleeting black mist among the Chuanrong army shadow guard. Chapter 489, Assault. Chapter 489, Assault. With the shadow guard so close, the others mustn't be far behind. Dugu Feng stood up and shouted, prepare for battle. Sir Jiyu Santong, please provide assistance. Jiyu Santong nodded, munching on his herb. That's what Dad told me anyway. Dugu Feng turned stern and the 4 brothers led their divisions out of the city. This imbalanced battle made even these seasoned tigers feel the pressure. Tuoba Liufeng was acting as the stand-in commander, directing the wolf wardens. When he noticed the million men and tigers coming out, it made no sense for them to abandon the advantage of the walls, even without arrays, and opt for a frontal assault. He understood their plan soon enough. Only outside the city walls would the army of 4 tigers be able to gather to form a wedge and strike into the heart of his camp. Zhuofan is cocky, throwing everything in a single risky move. We aren't good with soldier formations, but we have the spiritual beasts to give you a world of hurt. Tuoba Liufeng ordered, Steel Arm Wolf and Ironback Wolf, move in front to block them. Howling Wind Wolf and Blood Shadow Wolf will punch through behind the 2. Throw this battle into chaos once Chenyu's imperial family's support breaks their formation. Understood. The messenger left the fanned-out wolves changed formation. Ironback Wolf and Steel Arm Wolf's divisions combined, forming a wall in front of Tuoba Liufeng. Dugu Feng laughed. Give your all, charge. With their numbers short, their best bet was to finish this battle quickly. They had to brave the danger of a trap to get to the commander and hold him hostage raw. The fearless shouts of soldiers shook the sky at the same time. Hundreds of black trails flitted over with eerie movements. They entered their formation and mowed down these men with their black blades. Their barely formed formation collapsed in an instant way above them. Sima Hui bombed them with chess pieces. They whistled through the air and left behind craters and mournful cries. Thousands fell with every strike. Howling Wind Wolf and Blood Shadow Wolf, who were on standby, laughed with glee. Without Dugu Zhantian, they're nothing. Look how easily their formation fell. The invincible army will fall even without our help. Howling Wind Wolf laughed. Blood Shadow Wolf snickered. That Marshal Zhu's mind is only filled with machinations, yet is lacking in the military department. Ha ha ha. When it comes to wars, what's important is to use your full strength in a clash. Getting tangled up with court politics and cloak and daggers every day makes you weak in directing soldiers. No matter how shrewd he is, Dugu army will die in his hands. Only Tuoba Liufeng knew just how intricate Zhua Fan's thinking was, so much so that he felt it was all going too easy here. Strange, was Dugu army ever this weak? They're not up to par with the average Chuanrong soldiers. With a reverberating shout, a red flash landed on the battlefield. A 7-year-old kid, Sima Hui, shook all over and even dropped his redded pieces. Senile old man, rather than play chess all day back at the capital, you've come here to fight? Jiyu Santong shone red as he punched at the sky. The space warped. Sima Hui felt his vision swim as the relentless force slammed into him. Sima Hui didn't even have the time to make a peep. All he could do was bring out his Yuan Qi Bam. The ringing explosion made Sima Hui spill blood, his clothes a mess as he barreled through the air, bleeding from every inch of his body. Invincible scamp Jiyu Santong's punch was that of a monster. Not even the monochrome chess sage could take a hit. Snorting, Jiyu Santong grinned, turning to the shadow guards with his uncanny speed. He punched every one of them into a pulp, even if they weren't exactly human. The power of that cutesy fist warped the space so much that he didn't even need soul power to finish the job. And now that he had Vaulting Kuanping as his guide, he used that ridiculous strength to its utmost potential. The shadow guards didn't stand a chance. Jiyu Santong ran to and fro, nailing shadows at every corner. When Jiyu Santong touched down, his tiny fist was soaked in blood, his sharp eyes staring down Ironback Wolf and Steel Arm Wolf's divisions. Dugu Feng shouted, "The bastards are dead, attack." Roar. His brothers gathered over, leading 600,000 men to form a new formation. Unlike before, these soldiers were of different metal, hardened and tough. They were the remnants of Dugu army charred. Dugu Feng shouted. With the tigers in the lead, the army's Yuan Qi fused. The soldiers formed a sharp blade that could cut any shield. Ironback Wolf and Steel Arm Wolf jerked, finding this formation a much worse enemy than the previous larger one they had formed. This is Dugu army. The previous one was bait. Tuoba Liufeng shouted. Dugu army was right on top of the two enemy divisions when Jiyu Santong timed his fist just right. Soaring fist, splitting heaven. Roar. His attack and Dugu army's aura combined. Ironback Wolf and Steel Arm Wolf felt the heavens dropping on them. The sheer might of this attack robbed the air from their lungs and stopped their hearts' boom. The million men of the two wolves were flung all over the place, with many in pieces, as the tigers cut through them like paper. Ironback Wolf and Steel Arm Wolf puked blood. They had to thank their formation for still being alive, although now the divisions were crippled. 30% died from impact while 60% lay in critical condition. This is impossible. Tuoba Liufeng was slack-jawed. Dugu army didn't have such strength even at full power. How did it break two wolf divisions? Tuoba Liufeng glanced at the flying kid and gulped. Invincible scamp Jiyu Santong. He alone broke 1,000,000 soldiers. Someone call the experts to get rid of the kid or we're finish. Tuoba Liufeng ordered. The 4 tigers were too close though, coming up on Blood Shadow Wolf and Howling Wind Wolf's divisions. Jiyu Santong was flying in circles overhead. The two wolves gulped, paling from fear. No matter how strong they were in the past, Dugu army was never such a freak. Not a minute ago they had mocked Zhua Fan's military ignorance, being only good at schemes. How ironic that a scheme was what had two divisions routed. The Tigers would need but moments to charge through to their young commander and run them over. As for stopping them, well, they didn't even dream of it. They were attack divisions, best used while the enemy was busy pushing back Steel Arm Wolf and Ironback Wolf. They weren't built for defense. It was then that 3 men flew over before Gu Santong. Chapter 490, Immemorial Sages vs. Chileen. Chapter 490, Immemorial Sages vs. Chileen. You again? Gu Santong spat. You rotten sack of meat, you've always pushed me around. Last time I let you off, yet you still dare to come back. Is it your time to die? Covered in black robes, with black mist around him, Shadow King was back. On his side were Gu Santong's old acquaintances from 300 years ago, Zhuge Changfeng's old elders. The two were filled with bloodlust. Shadow King grinned. Gu Santong, the only reason I'm here is because this time I've come prepared. Look around you, they're all old friends of yours. Recognize them? Gu Santong snorted. I don't have time to waste on nameless juniors. Quite the mouth you have. We fought so hard 300 years ago, and after all this time the noble Sir Gu acting as divine dragon must have forgotten his friends of old. One mocked. Gu Santong stared back. You were there? Wait, all of them are dead, so how are you 2 men still alive? Men? Shadow King's hatred burned hotter. Since you forgot, allow me to refresh your memory. These 2 fought alongside me back then and faked death when the moment was right. Why else would you still have the gall to saunter all over the place? Shadow King's anger targeted these 2 sages. The 2 were bashful, sighing. Shadow King, our team of 3 hadn't formed yet. Showing up would have only worked against us. So we decided to buy some time to train our teamwork for the next time we fought. Gu Santong. That's why we faked death. You ran, but what about me? Shadow King glared. Heaven Sage sighed. Shadow King, you've always been true and loyal. You'd never agree with our plan and even fight our attempt. That's why we didn't say anything. You left me for dead. Shadow King gnashed his teeth. It's because I thought you were dead that I resorted to stake it all on taking Gu Santong's 10 punches. It's what got me these creepy Gaulish threads. Aren't we the same? After the battle, Gu Santong broke our spirit root, dashing our hopes for the ethereal stage and sealing our lifespan. We could only drag our miserable existences as crippled husks. How's that any worse than me? You're still human. As a spirit puppet, I am stuck at the same spot, forever. I even have to eat souls to survive, for crying out loud. I'm neither man nor shade, but an abomination. Shadow King and the sages were digging up ancient history, and any baggage it carried. Gu Santong just stood there with a frown as he considered the 2's past. Tuoba Liufeng was fuming below, wishing for nothing more than to go up there and slap some sense into them. You're here as backup, not to quarrel. Is this how Tianyu's experts act? Have some sense of duty, for God's sake. By the time you finish your spat, my men will be gone. Gu Santong had heard enough to ring some bells. Oh Tilda, you're not dead. There's still some lively ones from back then. How embarrassing. And you even faked death. That's the same as duping me. You 3 rotten cheaters deserve nothing but death. The 3 turned to the kid, now dawning on them why they were here in the first place, and their faces sank. Heaven and earth sages, let's leave the rancer for now and get back to our mission. It's time we end what we started 300 years ago. Shadow King squinted. The 2 nodded. Our teamwork is perfect and the kid will make a perfect target. Gu Santong grinned. I had wiped the floor with you then, and I'll do the same to you now. Hey, who knows? As they say, time changes everything. And we had 3 centuries on our side to prepare for the day we'll crush you. We've trained our teamwork for this moment. Heaven Sage exploded with power, releasing blinding light, while Earth Sage turned into a black light, the opposite, and gave off an eerie and dangerous vibe under shocked gazes. The 2 lights blended together, forming a huge spinning taiji. Gu Santong's instinct told him something was off about that sucking circle. The 2 had yet to finish their combo and he was already feeling danger. The 2 actually have an ace. Dad said the first to strike has the advantage. I'll break their move before they complete it. Gu Santong's fist glowed red and he punched Tilda. The 2 sages only reached out and the 2 lights formed a vortex, blocking the attack. Jiyu Santong's attack faded away, chipping away at its power. My punch. Jiyu Santong widened his eyes. Heaven's Sage laughed. The great invincible scamp Jiyu Santong actually struck first. So you do sense you're no match for us. Why else would you do it? As if, I just got tired of your prattle. Jiyu Santong stuck his chin out and barked, I'll send you three to the hereafter just like I did 300 years ago. Humph, angry about being found out. The two sages sneered, sending the black and white vortex at Jiyu Santong. Jiyu Santong jerked. Finding the attack was already upon him, the vortex turned into black and white chains, tightening around him. The chains were weird to be able to withstand his strength. No amount of struggle helped. Heaven's Sage grinned, save it. Our yin-yang chains use the breath of the world feeding into each other and are tied to the world itself. Nothing will ever get out of them, unless you can break the world, ha ha ha. The other two laughed at Jiyu Santong's expense. The prick's day had finally come. We're finally free of that insufferable torment, ha ha ha. Their minds drifted out to all kinds of regrets Jiyu Santong was having. When the kid burned red and bellowed, I am soaring Chileen, tearing the world couldn't be easier. Roar. Jiyu Santong's roar shook the heavens. Origin form, Chileen. Tilde. Jiyu Santong exploded in a scarlet light and his tiny and adorable face warped. His arms grew, scales covered his skin and his power multiplied. Jiyu Santong turned from a cute child into a sacred beast. Even when chained, his aura drove fear into the sages. For God's sake, he's a freak through and through. Heaven's Sage gasped as the beast's every movement contained unmeasurable power, snapping a chain every time. The entire battlefield was shell-shocked while looking at the beast Shuafan's son, the one who wrecked Tianyu centuries ago. Invincible scamp Jiyu Santong was in fact a wild beast. Chapter 491, Tri-Barrier. Chapter 491, Tri-Barrier. Human Sage, don't just stand there. We can't hold on for much longer. Heaven and Earth sages were bearing through the strain with clenched teeth and twisted expressions. Shadow King was peachy on the sidelines, not lifting a finger. Shadow King mocked, this would have never happened in the first place, if we had dealt with him together 3 centuries ago. Shadow King was really thinking of backstabbing these two, but one thing was clear, only together could they handle Jiyu Santong. For the bigger picture, Shadow King made a sign and a golden chain shot towards the yin-yang chains, making them shine as well. The chains grew tougher and Jiyu Santong could only wail in distress, unable to break his binds even as Chileen, Heaven, Earth and Man, Tri-Barrier. The 3 sages made the same sign. Dugu Feng looked up with a frown. He was freaked out by Jiyu Santong's form as much as the next guy, but he was their ally, their support. With Jiyu Santong sealed up, his army's wings were cut off. Charging forward now would only net them heavy casualties. Howling Wind Wolf and Blood Shadow Wolf perked up. Jiyu Santong's loss was their gain. With their numerical advantage, they could easily hold the 600,000 Dugu army back. Come, 4 tigers of Tianyu. Blood Shadow Wolf laughed. Dugu Feng shouted, Howling Wind Wolf, Blood Shadow Wolf, get on the damn side. Make me. Howling Wind Wolf and Blood Shadow Wolf bit back. Boom. The 2 armies ran into each other, but without their buff, Dugu army's advance fell, though not to a complete halt. Their formation gave them enough strength to push on against the fierce opposition. The enemy fell back 1 step at a time, getting on the brink of collapsing. The wolves were amazed by how just half of Dugu army could wield so much power as to push their million men back. They were this close to crumbling and letting them have a clear way for the leader. It was then that a piercing cry resounded. Dugu Feng watched the sky fill with thousands of golden arrows, falling down like rain. Its sky-piercing wolf's division. Dugu Feng cried, change formation. Shields up, mountain formation. Whoosh tilde. Dugu army halted and took a defensive stance. Their Yuan Qi turned into an impenetrable wall just in time to welcome the rain of arrows clanking on their shields. Howling Wind Wolf and Blood Shadow Wolf's morale lifted. Zhebi was timely with his aid. Divine archers, get ready for another volley. Zhebi ordered and his men opened the floodgates. Dugu army could only duck under their shields and hold on against the constant hammering. When the attack finally let up, Dugu army found Howling Wind Wolf and Blood Shadow Wolf teaming up with Sky-Piercing Wolf, by surrounding them. Advancing now was out of the question. Dugu Feng's side, the risk was high with this move. It was either win or lose. Flanked as we are, This is where we will meet our end. Brother, what do we do? Dugu Lin asked. Dugu Feng shook his head. Our task is done. We just have to hold our ground and keep their men busy. That is the role of bait. Fifth holds the true force. Dugu Feng looked towards Tuoba Tieshan's tent with a smile. In Windgaze City, the house lords were watching Dugu army get pinned down. Jiyu Santong bound and were worried with anxiety. Pavilion Lord Long, what do we do? We have to save them or everyone in the city will die. Grandmother said. Long Yifi sighed. And how do you suppose we do that? Get Jiyu Santong freed up. We don't have the manpower. Support the army. How do we do that, when we've always operated alone? We will be stuck there with them. All we can do is wait for Zhuo Fan. The others sighed. Xie Xiaofeng shook his head. Did we ever stop to think the day would come when we, the mighty leaders of 7 houses, of boundless prestige, will end up so powerless? We are reduced to nothing more than spectators in the battle that will decide our fates. Ha ha ha, now I see just how weak the house lords really are. The others echoed his sentiment with a strained chuckle. On Li Jingtian's side, the elders were running for their lives. Steward Shuo, they don't seem to be buying it. Maybe they don't care about us and are now slaughtering Windgaze City. No. Zhuo Fan was resolute. I broke his meat suit and the guy must be boiling mad. The other 2 will be with him for appearance's sake, to save their names. They're overconfident in their ethereal stage power, thinking in their thick heads that revenge couldn't be easier. They'll never go with feints to draw us out by attacking Windgaze City. It's too much of a pain when they don't have to. Qiu Yanghai grumbled. Steward Shuo, next time if a twisted trick like honey trap comes to your mind, could you please leave my biddy out of it? Ha ha ha, you think I wanted to do that? She's a victim of circumstances. Zhuo Fan said. The plan was to draw the experts away by pissing them off and give the 4 tigers of Tianyu some breathing room. As to how we go about doing that, it all came down to the adversary. It's not my fault that a pervert showed up, even kissing me with that foul mouth of his. So why are you so upset? No one touched your biddy. In fact, I'm the victim here. The others laughed. Qiu Yanghai bowed. Many thanks, Steward Shuo, for saving my biddy. That's what teammates do. Don't mind it, Elder Qiu. Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan waved him off. A bellow came from behind them. You rotten son of a bitch, don't move a muscle. I'll flay you alive, burn your soul and take that meat sack for my own. Turning around, they found 2 men and 1 python coming over at full speed. Li Jingtian turned to Zhuo Fan. The steward looked below and pointed at a valley. That's where we land, Elder Li. Someone's expecting us. Sure thing. Li Jingtian nodded and flew with the couple behind him. The 4 of them landed in this picturesque landscape, surrounded by mountains on all sides. The blissful sound of a stream and the forest animals made it paradise. The 3 ethereal stage experts touched down as well. Obscene Snake snorted, an ethereal stage cultivator, some radiant stage experts and a puny profound heaven cultivator. Think of running from us? Well, think again. Who said we're running? Think we're scared, is that it? Zhuo Fan mocked with an obnoxious tone. We just recalled that we had prior engagements and had to visit some friends. What are you doing coming with us? Hi, cut the bull. Talk trash all you want, but at the end of the day, I'll peel your skin and wear you like a suit. Back up a little. Zhuo Fan cut him off and sneered. Here I thought only the white-mustached Foggy was slow, but now it seems you aren't so bright yourself. How would you look if you wore me without skin? Didn't think of that, did you? Ooh. The python burned with fury, looking lost all over the place. He was only spitting insults, not minding the contradictions. What would I ever do with a skinned body? Chapter 492, Impermanence 5. Chapter 492, Impermanence 5. Holding his head, Elder, whose savage eyes glared at Obscene Snake, are you here to kill him or to chat up with him? What are you doing getting tongue-tied in crap? You're dragging the intellect of our whole sect through the mud. Elder, who roared at Obscene Snake and Jackal, all he got was a huff and puff from them, focusing their angry glares on Zhuo Fan. It was all this piece of crap's fault for them ending like this. One in a sorry state and the other without a body. Their reputation as an ethereal stage expert aside, he had now attacked another angle. Their brains. Obscene Snake snarled, rotten punk, I will crack your skin, take your bones and torture you, I'll make you suffer until you beg for death. Did you give up on possessing me? Zhuo Fan grinned. Obscene Snake's tail was whistling in rage. None of your goddamn business. Just remember, I will make your life a living hell. You will live a long and painful life. Hi hi hi. Zhuo Fan merely shook his head. Dumbass. Boy, are these people the target? An aged voice resounded. The elders jerked around but saw nothing. Fear creeped into their hearts for how much weaker they were compared to the owner of this voice. The three felt perhaps more than a little uneasy. Did we just get played, again? We, the great ethereal stage experts? An expert ambush. But Tianyu has nobody stronger than us. Even Li Jingtian's case took 1,000 years to pass, yet now there's another ethereal stage expert in hiding? The three gulped. Their common sense defeated. Zhuo Fan sneered at them, cupping his hands. I thank the elder for his support. They are all here. Please begin. Fine. The aged voice came again. From all around the mountains, space twisted until 5 aged robes came into view, having the group surrounded. Every single one of them had a handicap: one with atrophied ears, one was blind, one had a cut-off nose, and one with the tied lips. Even though his voice still came out, the last one was looking quite healthy, if one ignored his other crippled senses. He didn't even have a tongue, only groaning as he talked. Following the trend, the 5 men each missed sensory organs, yet, through a twisted logic, still had the sense that the other guys were missing. Even Li Jingtian twitched a bit after looking at the creepy 5, while the 3 elders were downright stumped, even falling back in fear. Fierce Tiger's teeth chattered. Demon Scheming Sect's Impermanence 5, what are you doing here? Last I checked, Demon Scheming Sect is one of Tianyu Empire's 3 guardian sects. Going about our domain is only natural. That being said, I can't help but wonder, what's Beast Taming Sect doing here? Are you here to mess with our disciples? 4 elders simply meditated on a rock, with only the blind, deaf and sealed-mouth elder speaking. The terror was growing within the 3 beast elders, evident by their sweat. Fierce Tiger wiped his brow and bowed. Elders, we had been taunted by some insidious lowlife. We have never touched any of your great sect's disciples. Never, is it? Then what was that flaying our disciple and taking his body all about? My ears are frail, but I can hear just fine. The same one spoke. The trio were panicking now, crying at Zhuo Fan, you're a Demon Scheming Sect disciple? Yep, in the making. Zhuo Fan shrugged. The trio shook like leaves and hatred exploded within. Oh, not out of regret, but with malice directed at their intelligence reports. They did it on purpose. How else could they not find out that our target is with the Demon Scheming Sect? What was supposed to be a simple in-and-out job, beneath the prying eyes of Tianyu's guardian sects, had now become a task of targeting Demon Scheming Sect's disciple. They were as smooth as a lummox, Tianyu's emperor in particular. You fool, going around targeting Demon Scheming Sect's men with your pranks. Is life too good for you? The 3 elders were close to bawling. Impermanence 5 are veterans. We should have had an easy time, but we just came here and have already hit a wall. Fierce Tiger bowed at once. Elders, we did not know the kid was yours. We ask that you overlook our transgressions out of the goodness of your hearts. Ha ha ha, what's the point of sect rules if a simple apology would suffice? You messed with our disciple and think you can walk away, just like that. Who do you take the Demon Scheming Sect for? The same elder taunted as tears welled up in their eyes. Obscene Snake had to show his dissatisfaction. Elders, just look at us. It's him who has messed with us. He is still alive and kicking even after taking out my body. Ha ha ha, a profound heaven kid destroyed a great ethereal stage expert's body. What a shame. And now you have the nerve to own up to it. The way I see it, death will look much better on you. The elder mocked. The other 4 elders shook a little, each expressing joy in their own creepy way. Fierce Tiger barked, Obscene Snake, are you so damn blind? This is a trap. Demon Scheming Sect is splitting hairs just to fish for leverage. We can beg all we want, but they won't ever let us go. Ha ha ha, everyone is a product of their environment. You haven't been around this kid for long, yet you already have the kid's brain rubbing off on you, if only a little. I think congratulations are in order. The elder mocked. Fierce Tiger turned savage. Impermanence 5, you're famous in Western lands, but you're not much different from us. Don't push it or we'll take you down with us. Now I really want to see just how 3 nobodies would go about doing that. Ha ha ha, the elder shot back. Kid, take your men away before they tie us down. Yes, elder. Zhuo Fan bowed, giving Li Jingtian a look. The 4 flew away but didn't go too far. Watching from the sidelines at the edge of the valley. A fight of this degree would do the fresh ethereal stage. Li Jingtian and the power couple. A world of good. Qiu Yanghai frowned at the still-sitting elders. Steward Zhuo, what's the deal with them? Their senses are wilted, but not by accident. Ha ha ha, true. It came about from their cultivation method. Zhuo Fan explained, it is a combination art, vicissitudes art. It is said a year of vicissitudes, a time of blossoms and a time of wilting. When the year turns, vicissitudes begin anew. This is the natural cycle. Everything in this world rises and falls in a never-ending cycle. These 5 elders emulate it through their sensory organs. But the cycle can sometimes thrive and sometimes degrade. To compensate for this glaring weakness, they each gave up all their sensory organs except one. Thus, together, they will only thrive. To the point that many experts stronger than them have fallen to their combination art. The elders are named after the sensory organ they picked. Take that talking elder for instance, he is Elder Shi, because of his tongue. The others nodded, with Xue Qingjian found their creepy looks not at all inviting, but they're so damn ugly. No matter how great the art is, I'll never practice it. The others laughed. Zhuo Fan continued, Sister Xue, you're underestimating the vicissitudes art. Not anyone can train in it. The least you should be ready for is to give up your face, but you also have to join 4 others in using it. While each of them has a sense still working, it is at the group's discretion to use it. And therein lies the kicker, you can't control it. In reply to their shock, Zhuo Fan smiled, anyway, there are 3 reckless fools trying it out. You best peel your eyes to a true ethereal stage expert. Chapter 493, Extreme Might. Chapter 493, Extreme Might. Elite Coder. Impermanence 5, you're seasoned experts, but we're no pushovers either. Must we do this? Push us hard enough and we'll stoop to anything. Yeah, we're so ruthless that we even scare ourselves. Elder who watched the enemy with tense and sweaty brow, though still talked tough in the hopes of scaring them. The other 2 threw in a helping hand. The 5 elders sat still like before, letting these 3 talk to the walls. Elder She began after a while, ha ha ha, there's a saying, all bark and no bite. I gotta say, the more you hoot, the more relieved I feel. Xue Qingjian giggled, Steward Zhuo, that guy's just like you, throwing biting remarks. Of course, why do you think he kept his tongue and earned his nickname, Elder Shi? Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan chuckled. The tiger, wolf and snake were fuming like pretty much anyone else. These 3 were fierce believers of death before Dishina. Now that Elder She had taunted and mocked them, he was wiping the floor with their name as even ethereal stage experts. It came as no surprise when Elder who exploded with power as a golden-eyed tiger image appeared around him. The sky darkened, the wind howled, like a tiger on the prowl. Li Jingtian shook, the roar infecting him. It was many times stronger than the one he felt when fighting Fierce Tiger. Only in danger would Fierce Tiger show his true power. In order to fight for his life, Elder Lang had a mighty wolf around him, baring his claws and fangs, growling at the 5 elders with bloodshot eyes. As for the runt of the litter, Obscene Snake, powering up proved a tiny bit difficult without a body. In fact, he was decaying as time went by. He'd better get a meat suit fast before a breeze blew him over. No pressure though, as an ethereal stage expert's soul could survive for a long time. Then again, the weaker the soul got, the harder it would be to get a new body. Impermanence 5 just sat there, chilling, with no intent of attacking or leaving, just stalling. The 3 elders were clamoring to get away, though none tried to leave by force, just struggling only to find themselves stuck. Elder who snapped first under the pressure and flew into a rage. Jackal and Obscene Snake followed. The 5 elders acted right away as well, though only in the form of one elder. Whoosh. The elder who could open his mouth appeared in front of them. The trio were exuberant. No matter how much fear they had for the 5, just one elder presented them with a high chance of survival. Of course they'd take it. 3 souls joined together, the auras combining into a might that could crush mountains. Even Li Jingtian felt fear. Their combined power came from how well they knew each other, how perfectly in tune they were. While the elder just stood there, opening his mouth only when the attack was on top of him to release a dreadful howl. Bam! A ripple like a sonic boom ripped apart the attack like paper. Hu and Lang puffed blood from the searing headache and their soul forms vanished. While Obscene Snake had it worse, his already faint form was much closer to fading away. This attack had sapped his soul energy. Uatilda. The three groaned, falling on the ground like bricks. While the attacking elder returned to his spot, Li Jingtian's side was bug-eyed. A mere shout routed 3 grand ethereal stage experts combo soul attack. No matter how great the gap in strength, it should never be this great. They were all in the ethereal stage at the end. Just like how divine dragons didn't have much of an upper hand against plain radiant stage experts. Shuo Fan smiled. It's too soon to be shocked. That was just a warm-up. Elder Ku merely opened his mouth, that's all. What? They all cried out. What will a full-blown attack look like then? Shuo Fan explained, the greatest difference between ethereal stage and radiant stage is soul form. They all rely on their souls. Using anything less means sparring. What Elder Ku used was the power of the vicissitudes art trained to its peak, a skill called Demon Echo. The others are no different. Elder Shi's beguiling, Elder Yang's deluding sight, Elder Er's omnipresent hearing, Elder Bai's uncanny smell, each of them is just as amazing. Together, they cover their glaring weaknesses, never waning and ever thriving, flawless. No one would take them on unless they had an unfair advantage. This is the demon scheming sect's personal elders, Impermanence 5's power. They nodded, but then asked, Steward Shuo, what do you mean by personal elders? Ha ha ha, rumor has it that the high venerables of demon scheming sect are lofty positions that the disciples have endless respect for. But only the oldest are worthy of such title and can even grow to have the power to remove the sect leader. That makes having personal guards natural, hence they are called personal elders. People who should have been the sect's venerables, have now become high venerables' personal guards, thus reduced to mere elders. Even as their power goes beyond a mere venerable. Li Jingtian gave a thumbs up, and you just asked for their help, Steward Shuo? Are you sure you're going to the demon scheming sect as a disciple and not as a venerable? Shuo Fan chuckled. This is all courtesy of demon scheming sect's sect leader, Xie Wuyue. Maybe he values me just that much. Be that as it may, by sending these 5, his intentions are loud and clear. The way I see it, these 5 would find it a cinch to deal with 30 of these 3 experts. The others were so shocked that they just bobbed their heads. The 3 in question crawled to their feet at long last. No matter how much they'd heard of the 5's prowess, it still topped their imagination. Just one of them had handled the 3 of them like children, wiping the blood on his mouth. Elder Who cupped his hands. Impermanence 5's vicissitudes formation lives up to its name. I accept my defeat. Though it's not much of a contest, ganging up on the few of us. Ha ha ha, what are you spouting? Vicissitudes formation? We haven't even used it. That was all Elder Ku. As for ganging up on you, it's your side outnumbering him. But I get it, trying to talk your way out of it. A shame that's the most useless approach when it comes to demonic cultivators like us. While righteous cultivators, like you, would go the extra mile for stuff like honor and whatever, for us the end justifies the means. A loss won't change no matter how few or many are attacking. It's all about strength. Elder She didn't buy into the taunt. Fierce Tiger's face fell. Damn unreasonable demonic cultivators. They don't give a hoot about their names, wanting our lives even in a 5 against 1. Against righteous cultivators, they'd already be ashamed by now, going for a fair fight instead. Elder She mocked. Since you're so keen on seeing our formation, though unworthy, we're happy to make an exception, for your ignorant eyes. Oh no, 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 we'd like our eyes to be ignorant, thank you. Elder Who waved around the trio together couldn't even deal with one of them. While all 5 would kill them with a flick, it was an overkill, plain as day, like a 9-foot-tall mean thug towering a 3-year-old. A slap would do him in, but the thug just had to take the kid through the full course of his arsenal. The 3 lamented their fate's impermanence. 5 couldn't care less. They began with hand signs, clearly deciding to torture these 3 bastards. Shuo Fan's eyes lit up like a good audience. Impermanence 5's formation was a novelty, rarely observed. To witness it was a chance that appeared once in a blue moon, especially for Li Jingtian and company. The peak of the ethereal stage would be a good demonstration of this stage's true potential. Chapter 494, Soul Form. Chapter 494, Soul Form. Tilda. Ripples came out of the 5 elders one after the other, and the sky above them turned a bright green. It enveloped the whole valley. Just like a barrier, the beast elders were tense and scared. It was Elder who decided to act and bellowed as he rushed to the skies to leave this damn place 3 meters. That was how far he got. Green light flashed on him and held him steady. Fierce Tiger was aware of his predicament and unleashed every ounce of power in his being. With a roar, a golden tiger came out of him, soaring away. Elder who, don't you want your body? Elder Lang cried. All that work pumping iron to get to this stage. It was a shame just letting it go. And now he'd have to do it all over again with his next body. So despite his love for the chiseled body, desperate times called for desperate measures. While Elder, whose mind was set, using his body as a lure to get his soul to survive, Elder Lang was overcome by mixed emotions. Fierce Tiger never gave them a hint of his plan and just left them there. The 5 were sure to address this oversight the second time. Elder, who was the sole exception, who could blame him? Any attempt to let his pals in on his plan would be foiled. Omnipresent hearing was just that amazing, picking up the tiniest sounds, even transmission. Not that Elder Lang knew any of this. As for obscene snake, he was outraged. Since this plan would never have worked for him in the first place, he had no shell to shed, being a soul and all. The snake and the wolf stared slack-jawed at the sky. With Fierce Tiger moments away from leaving the valley and getting his freedom, the leftover felt forlorn. Just then green vines shot from beneath and coiled Fierce Tiger tightly like a bow-wrapped gift. Fierce Tiger roared, an exercise in futility. The green vines got him back down to earth, one step at a time. Ha ha ha, we'd have no name to speak of if even you 3 nobodies could escape us. Elder, she mocked. The others nodded, sitting on their rock and doing what felt like light work of catching him. She and Lang's faces fell. If even Fierce Tiger's surprise plan failed, what did that mean for them? Tilda. Yet another ripple covered the green valley and thousands of vines came from all sides at the 2. They had no hope at all of fighting back. Any struggle was just wasted energy. Tightened among the glowing vines, Fierce Tiger roared in his feeble attempts, feeling himself growing weaker. The tiger soul was slowly fading as well, while the green glow on the vines only got stronger. The same happened to obscene snake. Without a body to shield him, his soul was taking the brunt. Elder Lang was shaking in his boots, his body drying up like a raisin, and the vines pulling his soul out into the open, awaiting the same fate. They were officially in hell, experiencing a world of pain and endless remorse. Elders, have mercy. We'll never come near your precious disciples again. There's nothing personal between us, there'll be no revenge. I beg of you to let us go. We will never forget this kindness. Spare us, elders. The 3 whined across the whole valley in a sappy and tearful voice, but the 5 elders were like rocks. Li Jingtian's side knew the 5 elders were way better than the 3, but not by this degree. They didn't even move and the 3 were already dying. How are they same stage cultivators? The least you can do is twitch a finger. Qiu Yanghai said in shock. Steward Zhuo, what are those things? Is it a grand skill of theirs from cultivating? That's their soul. Zhuo Fan said. Soul was the unanimous question. In the ethereal stage, the soul takes shape and can be molded into any form through cultivation methods. Like those 3, they trained in a method that made their soul animals. Elder Li should be a black dragon, because of the wraith art he used to achieve advancement. Zhuo Fan explained, while Impermanence 5 have the vicissitudes art and have combined their strengths, this made their souls not the vines, but that green glow you see covering the valley and sealing this place, the vicissitudes world. They have the control of every root, every blade of grass at their fingertips, thriving and waning, translating into their enemies' flourishing or decaying states. Taking away another's life is what they are best at. With this lesson and practical demonstration, they came to the obvious conclusion that in the ethereal stage, the soul's strength ultimately decides victory. Xue Qingjian said, Steward Zhuo, what about mine and Giza's souls, what will they be like? Zhuo Fan surmised, Sister Xue and Elder Qiu train in fire and water arts, so you ought to become fire and water, in constant growth. Better than those 3? Xue Qingjian lit up. Zhuo Fan shook his head, it means no set form, like an illusion. Though I can't say for sure. We'll just have to see it first. If those 3 animals were tough, they'd be breaking away by now. The soul can take any shape in the ethereal stage, each with its own advantage, all depending on their cultivation. They all nodded. The three soul beasts' pleadings stopped at last, their voices cut. It was now a matter of time before their souls died. Elder, she took out a gourd and with a flick, the vines threw the tamed pets inside, putting the cork on. Elder, she stashed the gourd and the green glow faded. With another sign from the 5 elders, Zhuofan and the others went to them and bowed. Thank you for everything, elders. However, I didn't understand something. Why did you let them live as prisoners? Ha ha ha, this is a sect matter, Junior. Killing them is easy, as well as missing out on a huge harvest. We'd rather take them to the sect leader first and let him decide their fate. Elder, she spoke. Zhuofan nodded. Xiaohua wants to stir things up, I see, and to take it out on beast taming sect. I reckon he'll reap a plenty. What will that make of the elders' support, him helping me or me helping him? Elder, she looked hard at Zhuofan and nodded. You've got quite the brain, Junior. I see why the sect leader likes you and sent us over. Though keep it in mind to show him some courtesy. Sect leader is no saint either. Thank you for the reminder. I will keep that in mind. Zhuofan bowed. The elders nodded. Since that is all, we'll be returning. I will handle the rest. Thank you for all you have done, elders. Zhuofan bowed and they flew away. Li Jingtian muttered, nice guys, those seniors, unlike any demonic cultivator I've ever seen. There are plenty of freaks of nature around, but that doesn't mean they're all savage and twisted. Many just walk their own path and care not for others. Because of this, they're lumped in with demonic cultivators. These 5 hardly talk with anyone else beside themselves. Their shrewdness isn't too sharp. They're the closest thing to a saint, as far as demonic cultivators go. Zhuofan explained. He looked towards Windgaze City and shouted, now we just have to win this battle and everything will fall in place. Chapter 495, All your base are belong to us. Chapter 495, All your base are belong to us. On the battlefield, the elite remnants of Dugu army with its tigers were going all out to hold back 3 wolf wardens and their massive army of 1,000,000 men. Blood Shadow Wolf snickered and shouted, Tigers, you have my full respect for your valor and for not losing your head in panic. In my name as Blood Shadow Wolf, I promise the commander will take you in. Just surrender. Dream on. We are Dugu army's 4 tiger generals. We don't surrender to the likes of savages. Dugu Feng snorted. Howling Wind Wolf mocked, your lord threw you to the wolves, so why do you still insist on fighting? Our commander cherishes talent. Join us and your army with you at its helm will win us all the battles, your future will be glorious. Why must you throw it all away? And for what, that twisted emperor of yours? Is he worth dying for? Chuanrong and Tianyu's emperor's deal was just that, business. It had no clause saying that they had to like the guy for his foul schemes. It worked against him in fact, making them admire Dugu army's valor. Instead it went without saying, when the situation called for it, the Chuanrong army would rather flip these intrepid warriors to their side. A shame that the one thing standing in their way was the same element that had made the Dugu army invincible for all these years, their resolve and undying loyalty. Marshall had fallen at the emperor's underhanded attack, but if there was one thing these men couldn't do, it was to become traitors. Howling Wind Wolf, Blood Shadow Wolf, save your breath. We will defend our home and every soul in it, to our dying breaths. Tianyu isn't the land, it is its people. Dugu Feng shouted. Dugu army echoed his will. Even when surrounded, they held strong, like true warriors. The 3 wolves nodded. Such fine men, a darn shame too. The wolves gave the signal. Sky-piercing wolf shouted, for tigers of Tianyu, today is the day we'll end you and give you a proper burial. Much appreciated, ha ha ha. Dugu Feng laughed. They were mere bait in this battle, but with death lurking at every turn, the brothers had made peace with it. The wolves were hesitating. Fighting their rivals for so many years got them to understand their character. But a soldier's duty was above sympathy and individual will, and they had to cut down their enemies without remorse, crush them. The wolves ordered while the 4 tigers of Tianyu got ready for a 3-pronged assault. The heavy and heroic mood broke suddenly due to a wail in the forest. The flames reached the heaven. The wolves cried, it's the commanding tent. An ambush. Ha ha ha. 5th brother made his move. Dugu Feng laughed. The wolves shouted, You had someone go after our base. Your entire army is trapped. What other men are there to make a sudden strike? Hey, never saw that coming, did you? We have one more division, led by the 5th Tiger of Tianyu, the Flying Tiger Army. We're just bait. Marshall figured out that you're out for a quick strike, going all out. So we baited you and you bought it, leaving the 5th brother free to attack your commanding tent. To capture an enemy, first take their head, ha ha ha. Dugu Feng laughed and the wolves exploded in rage. The full might of the 8 wolf wardens was here, leaving the commanding tent in solitude and defenseless. Going where the fire burned hottest, Luo Yunhai led his steel war puppets, cutting through the remnants like butter with their capacity as freaks. Luo Yunhai found that a formation at this point was overkill. Charging was enough to mow the enemy down. They were an unstoppable killing machine. Luo Yunhai wasn't quite happy though. He knew Zhuo Fan was using this war to establish his position, a cinch with this ridiculous army, but it was so easy that it made the win feel flat. All those years he spent in Dugu army learning formations, tactics, maneuvers, and counters were flushed down the drain. With an army like this, they acted like a locust plague, tearing everything to shreds and leaving only a mess behind. It mowed down even the likes of Tuoba Tieshan's personal guards. No order, no tactic, just head-on attack like a deranged murderous fanatic. It finally dawned on him, as to why Zhuo Fan kept saying power trumps everything. Young master, there are no more enemies. All that's left is the commanding tent. We await your orders. A peak radiant stage war puppet bowed. Luo Yunhai muttered, with your strength, just go in there and grab him. What are you asking me for? Young master, it's Steward Zhuo's will. Take the commander yourself, sir, and your name will spread. It will be on everyone's lips, and in their hearts. Brother Zhuo is so thoughtful. Even though this achievement brings me no joy. Luo Yunhai shook his head and walked to Tuoba Tieshan's tent. The place was surrounded by war puppets. Luo Yunhai walked in to see a lone stalwart man, sitting in the high seat without fear or anxiety. Saluting, Luo Yunhai spoke, I've long since heard Godfather say that Commander is his adversary for life. Today I can attest to that. But now I've taken your camp. You've lost, so I will have to ask you to come with me. Ha ha ha, where did this egotistical brat come from? Want to beat my Chuanrong army and take me down? You have another thing coming. Luo Yunhai stared at his back. You're not Tuoba Taishan? Of course not. Swinging around, it was just some youth in the commander's robe. Commander knew about your side's weak position. The only way to win was by taking him out. You've been had, ha ha ha. Young master, there are enemy soldiers crawling all over the place. We're surrounded. A shout came from outside. Luo Yunhai nodded and sighed. Just like Big Brother Zhuo said, the first plan only had a 10% chance of success. We'll just switch to plan B and see if the old guy is confident enough to show up. Time to pay those brothers of mine a visit, ha ha ha. Why are you so calm? The fake commander jerked. Luo Yunhai grinned, unrest has never helped anyone. To get Tuoba Taishan, we have exhausted everything to anticipate anything. In any case, all I need is his location and Flying Tiger Army will get him in under a minute, ha ha ha. Luo Yunhai left a stunned fake commander behind. Why don't you kill me? I'm ready for you to take my head. Why kill a nobody? Just like Big Brother Zhuo said. You can't stop me, so it makes no difference. Luo Yunhai's last laugh echoed in the youth's ears. He contemplated before nodding, the mettle of a great general. Luo Yunhai signaled for the men to follow him out of the camp. He then heard a laughter approaching him. Savage Wolf met him with his division bursting with bloodthirst. Ha ha ha, damn punk, you took our camp and now you want to just walk out? Where do you think this place is? Jarlahan was bursting with power though a peak radiant stage war puppet blocked the shockwave. Luo Yunhai snickered, it's the enemy camp, of course. What else could it be, a scenic route? Cocky little prick. Talking smack even as your death nears. You're just like Zhuo Fan. Jarlahan pointed behind him. See these? Do you think a few 100,000 men can't wipe the floor with you in minutes? Luo Yunhai made a mock copy of his gesture. See this Flying Tiger Army? Do you think it can't flatten you in seconds? Jarlahan was stumped. Are all Zhuo Fan's underlings brash and obnoxious? He looked at the enemy once again but snorted in the end, "Rube whelp, that's just 100,000 men, while I have 500,000 men with me. Why are you so cocky? Give up for the sake of both our men and your puny life. TCH, you're the dingleberry. You'll see soon enough that numbers aren't everything. Tell me something I don't know. The greatest army Tianyu has ever seen has always been the Dugu army. Those men behind you might be the same, but they still won't top my 500,000 elites." With Luo Yunhai still acting tough, Jarlahan resorted to intimidation. The kid wasn't buying it, grinning from ear to ear. "Then you're just narrow-minded. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.